We'll be live.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, everyone. We're going to be doing the news today. Let us know how the audio is. I see D in the live chat. D is saying, hello, filthy heathens. And
Oh,
Bread
that's
of Life
me.
Bread of Life is here. Imran is here. Mustafa is saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Mustafa. Something I don't remember is here. That's the username. And yeah, we're going to be talking today. How's the news today?
Oh, it's a big mix. It's a big mix. There's a lot to get into this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun because I really enjoy getting into and dissecting a lot of these big stories, but I'm not going to act like it's all good. Right?
Yes, of course.
But we're going to have fun doing it.
Okay, what countries are we highlighting today in the news?
India, a lot of India, a lot of the US, a little bit of the UK, a little bit of Mali. I think those are the big headers, definitely. Anywhere else? Iran. Right. Oh, some very interesting news from Iran and Norway as well.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting. I think everybody already knows what the US one is going to be, but for people who this is old news, we're not covering this news. We're covering the reactions to the news. Okay, so keep that in mind. The title makes it very cool because every time I know there are some people that when we highlight this, we're like, "What are you talking about? This is such." Okay, just look at the time. So can we clap for the first news?
Wait, I need to correct something. Mustafa is saying you can't say that that's not a P-word hat. Okay, referring to a kitty cat. Okay, after everything that's happened, this actually is not. I am offended by the implication because I think P-word hats. I'm saying it because of YouTube are a little cringe. I've had this since I was 17. Okay, long before the rise of the P-word hat.
But is it a cat? It's not a cat.
No,
it's
I think I look like a little bear.
Yeah, it's a bear hat. It's not a cat hat.
That's what I like about it. Anyway.
Qasim is here. Hi, Qasim.
Hello. So, yeah, and by the way, my connection is being weird today. We tried to fix it. This is what we're working with. We're going to work with it.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay, can we clap for the first news?
We're going to clap because it's the first news. We want to start off the show with high energy.
First news.
First news. Roe vs. Wade overturned. Mixed reactions from religious leaders. On June 26th, the U.S. Supreme Court voted to overturn Roe vs. Wade, the landmark legislation holding back anti-abortion laws on the state level. Since the decision, the nation has been divided within the ranks of religious organizations. Sheila Katz, CEO of the National Council of Jewish Women, stated that the ruling is, quote, a violation of both Jewish law and tradition and American religious liberty. Nadia Mohajir, head of the Heart Women and Girls, said most Muslim Americans support access to abortion. On the other hand, the more politically powerful religious camps celebrated the court's decision as the completion of their spiritual journey. Tanya Britton, a Catholic and president of Pro-Life Mississippi, has spent decades traveling around the country pushing her anti-abortion agenda and saw the overturning of Roe as the accumulation of her work to prevent other women from committing quote-unquote murder as she had herself done as a teenager. Despite being a lifelong Catholic, President Joe Biden vowed to fight the court's ruling through legislation. Global reproductive and women's rights groups have condemned the U.S. Supreme Court's decision. The United Nations Population Fund, or UNFPA, the Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency of the United Nations, warned that, quote, overturning the constitutional right to an abortion will have far-reaching effects across the globe.
Okay, I'm going to have a take that you might think is surprising of me to say. I don't know if after seeing some reviews of this, okay?
Oh boy.
I am very much I'm not just pro-life. I'm not just pro-choice. I'm pro-abortion. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I like abortion. We should have more abortions, okay?
I think you have the most extreme position on abortion out of anyone I know.
I know.
So no one can question your credentials.
Yes, true, true. Okay, I wish I could get pregnant so only so I could have an abortion. Okay, that's how much I'm in favor of abortions. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm sad that I missed that opportunity to have an abortion. I think it's a beautiful experience that everybody should go through at least once in their life. Okay, however, I do agree that Roe versus Wade was not. It was a stretch to suggest that this is in the Constitution. Okay, so technically, the judges are correct. This is not the problem. I mean, the judges are correct. However, your Constitution sucks. Okay, it's not the
Oh.
judges. It's not the judges' fault. Like they're right that dude, this is not in the Constitution. This is not a right that you could find anywhere in the Constitution. The whole idea that the right to privacy would suggest that you have a right to do this is not there. This shows that the United States Constitution is out of date. It does not provide you with all the rights that the advanced modern country is supposed to be providing to its citizens. Okay, so that's my conclusion, that the judges were correct. This was the right, overturning Roe versus Wade was the right decision. It's just you need a better constitution. It needs an upgrade.
Well, no, I won't ask you that question because you're not a constitutional lawyer. Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting to hear the positions of people or lawyers who are fiercely pro rights, pro choice, pro abortion, who still agree that the original Roe versus Wade ruling was bad law, bad constitutional law. And it's an argument that I find very interesting. And it's also an argument that I need to understand better. Because what I've heard so far regarding that argument from extremely progressive people is actually very convincing. But I don't have like the legal depth of knowledge to be able to present that back to our audience and explain that argument in depth, right? My understanding of it is that the way that the 14th Amendment was used in the original Roe versus Wade ruling had more to do with the doctor's right to practice than necessarily your right to secure this type of procedure, which I thought was very interesting. If you because you were saying, oh, well, you need a better constitution. I mean, given the fact that, you're not a lawyer, Armin, could you elucidate what that means to you?
I mean, any constitution, I think. Okay, I don't know. Maybe we should talk to a constitutional lawyer. But I think any constitution that does not stop a government from telling a woman that it's illegal for you to do this, to have a procedure that that you want to your body. I think it's a constitution that is not limiting the government as much as it's needed. Right? If a constitution, one of the purposes of a constitution is to limit the powers of a government on what it can do to its citizens. And if a constitution is failing to this extent, where a government can come and you cannot have this medical procedure on your own body, okay? If a government is allowed to do that, that means that it's not limiting enough. This is a constitution that is not limiting the government enough. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting argument. I understand where you're coming from. I'm going to think about that a lot. That's very interesting. So one thing that I find very interesting, I need to get new synonyms. The word that seems to define me is interesting. Okay. So do you want to talk about the split reactions from religious leaders across the country?
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, so what do you think about people who are Jewish religious leaders, Muslim religious leaders in particular? These are some of the loudest I've seen who are saying that this is actually a violation of their religious freedom. Because according to their religious tradition, when life begins is very different than Christian conceptions of it, specifically Catholic. I read a really interesting article today about how it's essentially Catholic ideas around abortions that have affected all of the evangelicals, but that's a different story. What do you think about this?
All right. So first of all, I think that if a government had a proper constitution, then the idea of like, well, religious people saying like, where in our religious books it says that would be like only be responded to with pointing and laughter, or like, it's so cute. You think it matters, okay? But unfortunately, we live in a world where it does matter, right? So we have to be like, okay, well, let's see what it says here, and what it says, it seems, in almost every Abrahamic religion, including Christianity, is that there is nothing that limits abortion, at least like early term abortion. There's no limitations on that. In fact, there are instructions for it in all of them. In Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, there are like, here's how you do it. Right? So it's weird that like, and to me, it suggests that religion is so flexible when it comes to deciding what it wants to get butthurt over, right? I think there's more clarity in all of these religions on it being anti-divorce than it's being anti-abortion. But like, divorce is completely legal, and abortion is all of a sudden decided. They have decided to. I mean, there are much greater sins, for example, in the Bible than homosexuality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Homosexuality, there's a lot more emphasis on so many other sins of like definite no-nos,
Blaspheming
right?
against the Holy Spirit.
Or like having partners with Yahweh, and in so many. So like, it's just pick and choosing. Like, so religion is a meme that based on its political utility, certain parts of it gets a lot more attention, and to the point of extreme obsession over other parts. Okay, but that's not a bug, that's a feature of religion, because it's a weapon that is flexible, like, and it could be used as needed for political gain. So again, if you think like this is stupid, it's not that stupid. It's actually genius, right? Because this is not about fetuses, okay? This is about using fetuses as a way for you to get power. You know what I mean? So how many people that are using this fetus protection campaign, do you think they actually like lose sleep at night thinking about, oh my god, fetuses, those poor fetuses, they're dying, somebody save the fetuses? I don't think it's about that. It's about thinking like, this is mobilizing people to maintain the power over politics, the power that they might think that they're afraid of, that is slipping through their hands because of changing demographics. Okay, they see the changing demographics, seeing that people are changing their opinions about religion, about conservatism, and they are finding very clever ways about how to maintain power and control, even though the demographics are not in their favor. So yeah. And hopefully, if they manage to maintain control and power, and also get control over the education system, maybe they could do something about changing the demographics moving against their favor.
Yeah, right now I'm just thinking about how the Democrats are acting like they were caught with their pants down, which is so embarrassing considering that we had a historic leak of this decision and they had time to prepare. Like, literally, they should have come out for when this decision came down the way it did with like a 10-point plan of what they're going to do to assert, the values of their constituents, right? And protect the rights. The Democrats, they just act like they have no idea what they're doing. There's zero clarity around what they are going to specifically do to protect the access to this reproductive health service. They're like, well, we might be doing this and we're looking into that. They had time to prepare. That's what makes this extra embarrassing. They should have had like a detailed roadmap of bullet points. Like, we are going to hit this and this and this and this, and we're coming for them every step of the way. Like, it just comes across as like, well, we're looking into something. What? But that, I don't know if we want to get into that. That's something I've been thinking about. That's a whole different topic.
Actually, it might be smart of them not to have a plan. Because in terms of we can't have a plan because you need to vote for us to be like, this might be an opportunity for the Democrats as well, right? So the Democrats might be like, listen, we can't do shit. Okay. And if they did something, if they're like, hey, here's our plan, people are like, okay, good, please do that plan. I think the smart messaging for Democrats is like, no. We can't do anything. You guys need to give us more power come in the elections. So the
Democrats is just so politically cynical and selfish. It really depresses me.
It's politics.
And in the meantime,
right?
It's causing massive resentment from people who are like, we worked so hard to vote you guys into the power that we have now, and now you just, the rage I feel towards the Democratic establishment is flowing through my body, and I can't even get it out.
See, Forever Stormy is agreeing with me, saying Democrats don't want to do anything because they want this as an election issue. They are as cynical as Republicans. I mean, that's a bit extreme. They're not as cynical as Republicans. Nobody. Okay, Republicans are like, actually, I can't say that. That would be dehumanization. And so I wouldn't say that. YouTube might like it, not like it. But also, we should answer this because Bread of Life is asking. Our Christian supporter, Bread of Life, thank you so much for your support here. But I say this every time because I am so proud to have Bread of Life as a supporter. Okay, when we have people who are ideologically not in agreement with us and support us, I want to always mention that we have a Hindutva supporter or a Christian supporter. We don't yet have a Muslim supporter. Okay, we need a Muslim supporter.
We definitely do. Really? I talk to them.
Okay. No, like people that come here live on air and talk to us. Oh, okay, cool. So highlight when we have Muslim supporters, like highlight them and identify that. Like tell people, brag about the fact that we have Muslim supporters. Okay. Anyways, let's answer this question.
Bread of Life is asking, as you understand it, what are the arguments for the pro-life position? From a pro-life religious position or a pro-life secular position? Because they're very different. Very different. So a pro-life secular position is usually coming from the position of pitching, using rhetoric of the right to life and coloring it in human rights rhetoric. And so pitching this new thing as a right to life, that's a lot of how they use their messaging. A Catholic perspective more comes from the sense of you are interfering with God's perfect plan. You are committing murder. You're committing a murder and sacrilege against God's perfect design. And not only is murder already a sin, but like I said, you're interfering with God's design, his perfect plan. He wanted you to have this baby. It's against God's will. And that he chose that this life to begin at conception, that he, dictated and ordained. Or at least that was imbued into me throughout my lifetime in a Catholic community. Armin, do you want to answer this?
I think it all comes down to them saying fetus lives matter, and my position is that fetus lives don't matter at all. That's basically it, right? I think they're not self-aware, so screw them. They could die as much as you want. Yeah. Like they're fetuses.
God damn. When you put it that way, Armin.
They're just fetuses, okay? You do whatever you like. I
personally don't like the fetus lives don't matter rhetoric. I don't think it's useful, but I understand why you say that. But that's, my personal just like preference. When there's some really good live chat comments we should make. Forever Stormy is saying we should also not use other religions as a way to go after this decision, because then they will start carving out exemptions for themselves. And then as an Indian citizen, she's saying, hello, personal laws. For those who are not aware, in India's civil penal code, there are basically different rules for different religious communities, which causes a lot of problems in the country. But there's a historical reason why it happened. But nowadays, I think it's outdated. And I think India needs one law for all. I'm a big supporter of the unified civil code. Anyways.
I like this idea. Can you read it? I like it. I want
Why are you going to make
read
me
it.
read this?
Because you have to read it.
Doorknob in Pet is saying Armin is going to push for a fetus stomping day.
Yes. Does that violate YouTube's terms of service? Because if it doesn't, then I would. Okay.
I'm just going to resign myself to a corner. And that oxymoron is saying I am more leaning towards letting abortion be legal until the age of fetal viability. That's basically what I'm comfortable with. Except when it comes to like, okay, so if it's legal until the age of fetal viability, then what do you do when people do it afterwards? Like basically asking me, okay, well, how do you want people to be punished for this then? And then I don't know how to actually answer that question. I definitely wouldn't do it. I don't know. It's complicated.
What is this one? I don't understand this one. Read this.
Nanda is saying Armin wants to appease women, wants one more chance, so supporting right to abort. They're basically saying that you're white knighting.
You know what? Screw women. Okay, this is not about them. Okay, okay, because I hate the idea of women saying "my body, my choice." Like,
yeah, that's dumb rhetoric.
No. Okay, if the fetus was self-aware, then it wouldn't be your body, your choice. Okay, because there's another body, you idiot. Okay, it's like my body. Like, have you forgotten about the body that is not your body that is inside you? Okay, you dumb idiot. Okay, so this is my idea of supporting abortion is not that, hey, respect a woman's rights to choose. Okay, my idea is like, who gives a crap about fetuses? Okay, I am more anti-fetus than pro-woman. Okay, this is not about being pro-woman. This is about my war against fetuses.
Personal vendetta against fetus.
Okay,
guys, this is why you come to Atheist Republic, because you do not get this kind of take from other atheist creators. That's for sure. And this is not about women, you dumb idiots. We are starting off the show hot today.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Oh, somebody's saying, Armin, you were also a fetus once. Yeah, but I'm not anymore. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, guys, you were also like, I don't know. You were so many things before you used to be poop. Did you know that? You used to be poop that plants ate upon. Okay. So do you want to save poop now? Okay. Yeah. Do you know that?
We're saying, screw women, screw fetuses. Armin is on a bender today. Okay, so
all right.
Wait, I need to actually not be laughing because the next news is very serious.
All right. Sad mood.
Okay. So this is now we're gonna start heading into our India news section. There's a lot to get into this week. So are you ready for the next news?
Yes. Maybe you should put some distance between. Okay, actually, this was not the first one was not a funny news. Okay, anyway.
No, you're
okay,
just
next
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Next news: Hindu beheaded for defending blasphemous remarks against Prophet Muhammad. On June 28th, a Hindu shop owner named Kanhaiya Lal was brutally murdered in the city of Udaipur in the Indian state of Rajasthan by two Muslim men over an alleged social media post. There is video footage capturing the two assailants entering the tailor shop posing as customers moments before they murdered the shopkeeper by slitting his throat. The attackers filmed the entirety of the violent crime and shared it on social media. After the attack, the accused shared a video admitting to the murder and declaring that they committed the action due to the shop owner's social media post that allegedly supported the former BJP national spokesperson Nupur Sharma. Last month, Sharma made controversial statements about the Prophet Muhammad on TV, entangling India in a diplomatic crisis. The two accused men were caught and arrested in a neighboring district on the night of the incident. The videos of the murder and those posted by the perpetrators circulated on social media, increasing intercommunal tensions and prompting authorities to suspend internet services temporarily. As a result of the escalating tensions and protests, the Rajasthan government imposed a curfew. High-level security and police forces were deployed to maintain public order across the state. So this is one of the biggest stories to come out of India in the past week. So the Nupur Sharma drama, or also known as like the Prophet Remarks Row, has continued to just embroil the nation. And this isn't the first death that has been caused by this incident, but it is one of the latest. And what makes it particularly significant this time is the Muslim on Hindu crime aspect of it, where previously the people who died as a result of this ongoing controversy were Muslim teenagers who were shot by the police. This is, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. It's just horrific. It's just absolutely horrific. I mean, what can you say? These people are deranged Islamists who decided to go after some random dude just because allegedly he made a post that supported Nupur Sharma. Now, I want to clarify something really quickly. There is differing reports about this post made by the Hindu tailor. I believe his full name is Kanhaiya Lal Tili. And so some people say he didn't actually make these posts. Some people say that the posts were actually from his son, but made through his account. I haven't been able to find any screenshots of what was allegedly said anyways. So there's some people saying like he didn't actually even post anything. Like he was completely quote unquote innocent. Even if he had done it, it wouldn't have justified this. But I just want to note that because that's important. There is differing information about what was said versus did he actually defend it. It's hard to confirm.
Very important that Susanna, like I want people to attention that Susanna says quote unquote innocent, okay? Because if he did post this, like he's still innocent, like because people are like, oh, he didn't deserve this because he didn't post these things. Like, what are you talking about? It's okay to support, Nupur Sharma. Like he didn't do anything wrong, even if he posted. So the fact that we're saying maybe his son posted it is just so that we could report the news that people are saying that this is a possibility, not that we're defending him only because, like, I know that's obvious to a lot of people, but some people don't get it. Like, whether he did it or his son did it, obviously this is like he's innocent. But yeah, go on.
No, it's definitely worth like stating and reiterating. I mean, there's a lot of allegations that these men who did this had actual ties to Islamist terrorist organizations. I'm using the word terrorist because YouTube doesn't like the real T word. We're talking about people who do violent radical extremism, okay? Including allegations that maybe they were supporters of Lashkar-e-Taiba, like one of my most hated organizations on earth. Like my passion of hatred towards Lashkar-e-Taiba runs deep. Or maybe ISIS. Again, it's difficult to confirm these things, but there's been a lot of like on and off reporting about this. It's heartbreaking, and the Indian government has actually been pushing the big social media companies to crack down on posts of anyone glorifying or encouraging this crime, which I think just really reiterating to social media companies to be thorough and enforce their own community standards is, it's so needed in this case. Like I can't even imagine. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say. It's horrible. Armin, when you heard about this, what was your reaction?
What what's gonna happen to them? Like they are the people who did this.
Oh, I mean, they're in judicial custody. There's a huge investigation going on. They're being investigated for terrorism. People are calling for them to be hanged. How this goes further is not entirely clear, but they're bringing the full force of the law against them. That's for sure. As they should.
Is there any celebration of this, recorded celebration of this within the Muslim community in India?
I have not seen large demonstrations in favor of these murderers to my knowledge. I have heard people talking about posts that encourage or glorify it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how widespread that support is, however. There, despite the fact that Rajasthan put the entire state on like curfew, there was a protest where thousands of people, protested against this murder, and that was allowed to still occur. Um, Numerous right-wing activists were actually arrested at those protests, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, this is just like shocked the nation. Like India is
Okay.
reeling from this.
Okay, my reaction, my initial reaction is that how much this can escalate? Like, is this the tipping point, or is this just the beginning? That's my first thought. Okay, and I don't know. Like, are we gonna head to more and more of this happening? Because like this itself is going to fuel radicalism from the other side as well, and then
100%.
they're just gonna feed each other. But I don't know what ends these cycles. I don't know how these cycles end, but so we'll see. I mean, just to be clear, most Hindus and most Muslims in India, not just most, okay, the vast majority of Hindus and Muslims are shocked by acts like this in India, right? They're like, this is crazy. I don't know. Let me know if you agree with this in the live chat, okay? But okay, what are people are saying? I start some comments in the live chat. Do you want to read them? Because I want to react to them.
Yeah, Oxymoron is saying that this Taylor Kanhaya probably didn't support Nupur Sharma. His son did. Again, like I said, there's a lot of conflicting information on this. Just trying to be responsible in how we talk about it. Shriyash Singh is saying, I and almost everyone have seen the videos. Yeah, just brutal. Something I don't remember is saying they even filmed it while murdering.
Did you see the film?
I've seen stills from it. I haven't seen the full thing.
So they show the entire thing, the beheading?
Some of the images that I have seen come from like CCTV footage.
Oh.
It looks like it's like from inside the shop, where I've seen footage of his body on the street.
But they themselves filmed what they did.
Mm-hmm.
These people, yeah.
And then they openly like praised it afterwards. Like they were super proud of what they did. Wielding these huge freaking knives. Oxymoron is saying yesterday another one allegedly got stabbed in Maharashtra for supporting Nupur Sharma. Not the latest. Well, I haven't heard about this one. If I'm very interested in learning about this, so please suggest this news in our news suggestions channel on Discord, because I'd like to check it out and maybe cover it next week. Especially if it was yesterday, that's too quick for us to turn it around and cover today. So we'll probably do it next week. Forever Stormy is saying Hindutva has created fertile ground for Islamist recruitment in India. That's the larger issue. This will only get worse unless Modi stops the insanity. What do you think about
agree. I don't think it's fair to say this, Stormy. I think like this is blaming the victim. I said no, that would be collectivist if I say that. But I just say like it would. I mean, even if it's true, I think it just comes across as too obsessive over just like, I mean, even when, just think about how that comes across as, right? Like even when you come as we will come across as very so anti-Hindutva, okay, and so trying to cover for Muslims, as even when you see Muslims committing crimes on Hindus, we still point to Hindus and we're like, oh, this is still your fault. Okay.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, well, yeah, I mean, no, I can see like why would okay, so I think it's important. It's not insane because it might even be true. Okay. But I'm just saying it's important to take moments to, I mean, even if you want to show that Hindutva are creating fertile ground for this, I think the right moment to point it out is not when somebody's attack has done a violent act against Hindus. You know what I mean? So I think like I used to not believe in this. I used to think like whatever is true, you just say it no matter when, right? And I changed my mind on this. I think like you have to be mindful of how it's perceived. Like if you're a Hindu and you're looking for us as somebody who will condemn an attack on Hindus when something like this happens, and they come to you like, okay, these people seem to be acting like they're fair. They're like, oh, we go after Islamic attacks, we go after Hindu radicalism, Christian radicalism, and they're like, okay, this is your moment to show us that you are going to condemn this Islamic attack on Hindus. And they come here and they see that even at the moment like this, we're like, oh, Hindutva did this. Okay, they're like, where's your balanced coverage on this, right? So I think this is not the moment to. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is. Maybe I don't know. I have to think about this. Maybe we should wait a little bit before we go back to saying, oh, Hindutva is creating fertile ground for this. I don't know. What do you think?
I tend to agree with you. I basically agree with you. Like, it's worth having that discussion, but it is not the most important thing to talk about right after this happened. In my opinion, like, it should be like our first through seventh priority should be condemning and talking about the problems that gave rise to this Islamist violence. Like, let's focus on that first. And then, like, once we do a deep dive, like fully holding all of those factors accountable and naming them, then we can be like, okay, so what was the environment that led this to, like, kind of
Let me say this.
come up?
You know what? The number one environment, the number one factor, here's what I would say. Even if Hindutva is responsible somewhat, okay, then the first, second, and third, and maybe up till ninth factor in creating an environment for an attack like this to be able to happen is Islam. Okay? It's Islamic ideology that provides the excuse for a crime like this to happen. Okay? So even if Hindutva is responsible, it would be, I don't know, way down the list. Okay? You don't see this level of violence, this level of radicalism in almost any other religion.
True. Enough said.
Yeah.
And I think it would be super hypocritical for us to be pointing the finger first at Hindutva when Samuel Paty was beheaded in France. We didn't immediately turn and point the finger first at French laïcité and the French system of secularism. That'd be super hypocritical of us. And like the double standard would be so glaring. It's like, oh, the first thing you want to do is point to the majority, like when it comes to India, but when it comes to France, you guys like are so gung-ho. Yeah, I think that'd be really inconsistent of us.
And also, when you see the same level of oppression on other people, right? Like, for example, if you see the same level of oppression on Christians, okay, Christians don't go and react like this and cut people's heads off. Right? Again, I'm not all Muslims.
Not nowadays.
Okay? Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, even back then, it wasn't because that's a bigger debate. But okay, so this is mostly an Islamic issue. Okay, so even if you create the same environment where Muslims are living under in India, you don't see this reaction from any other community. Anyways, but let's
there was one more comment I wanted to highlight. Something I don't remember is saying even Modi is silent. Didn't expect that from the prime minister. Okay, I'm starting to really see why why Hindutva supporters like the BJP is completely feckless and cowardly. What? Has Modi given a comment to any of these major international crises that his country is in, like for the past month? Not to my knowledge. Does he comment on literally anything of importance within India? It doesn't seem like it. How is he going to remain silent on this in particular when it's like a slam dunk for his narrative and his rhetoric? I don't get it.
I think I get the strategy.
About anything?
Okay, I think I get this. I think I get his strategy. Okay, I think he's like he wants to come across as like, hey, listen, I am consistently silent about all of these. Okay, because I think if he comments on one of them, then people are going to look for the line. Do you know what I mean? Like people are like, okay, you weren't silent about this, but you were silent about that. So what's the difference between this and that? Why you talked on this and you don't talk on that? Right? So I think he's like deciding to just be like, I am a prime minister that doesn't talk about these things. So don't try to guess my politics based on what I'm talking about, because I am completely consistent. Zero commentary on everything.
I don't believe that. Like, when has he cared about consistency anyways? Like,
Whoa.
his history doesn't give that impression at all. At all. You know?
Yeah,
like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I mean, he does. No, that example is like too much to get into now. He does comment on things. It's through,
okay, but
like,
when it comes to condemning things, like when it comes to like, oh, I condemn this, oh, I condemn that, right? Like if he enters that world, he might think like, okay, this is a game that I can't win at. You know what I mean? People are going to be like, oh, so you have entered the arena of condemning things. Well, here's a list, sir, for for you to condemn things. And he's like, you know what? I am not going to condemn anything. Maybe he's like, why do I even need to condemn this? This is so obviously bad. Yeah, again, I'm not defending his silence. I'm just saying maybe this is the thought process, because like there must be a thought process behind his silence, because it's not like hard to condemn this. Like they must have a reason for why they're not condemning it. Like I'm just trying to figure out what's the reason.
It's so weird to me. It's so weird to me. It makes him come across as so cowardly and like pathetic and uninvolved and not caring, when he's supposed to be like this lion for Mother India. Where's the passion? Where's the care? Where are you talking about what matters to the people of your nation? I don't get it. To me, it comes across as so weak.
There are some juicy comments about the people being BGP members. Is that like, what is this all about?
I'm not going to highlight that because the person who said that is incredibly not credible.
Okay. Which one of them? Because a couple of people said that. I heard that somewhere as well. Actually, I've heard, like, guys, people who we know, can you tell us something about the guys who did this being BGP members? Is this like a real thing?
You're saying that the perpetrators were supporters of the BJP?
Yeah, some people are saying that. I don't know if it's true.
This is an interesting...
I saw that on my feed as well. But yeah, go on.
This is an interesting comment from D. D is saying, I'm pissed that Nupur is getting the sole blame and no Muslim country has said a peep about this murder.
Oh my God, that's another good point, D.
But why would like the Gulf countries feel compelled to talk about like a crime that happened domestically in India? I completely understand why they feel compelled to talk about an insult to the Prophet. I mean, I think it's dumb, but from their perspective, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, the point is that their perspective is stupid. Like I mean, the commentary on the Prophet was also done in another country. So, like the idea of like we need to speak on this thing that didn't happen within our borders because you have a claim over the entire Islamic world, even outside of the borders where you're supposed to have authority over. Like what? Like that's not your country, you know? So, anyways. Oh, see, even Bengali Hindu is saying this.
They were seen with BGP Muslim members. Okay, that's not enough solid intel for me. So wait, this is this is so funny. Forever Stormy is saying condemning fetuses and defending Modi. Is this even our Armin? Bring back our Armin.
I'm just trying to provide a counter. Condemning. Wait, what are you talking? Wait, hold on a second. Condemning fetuses. I've always been anti-fetus. This is Armin. The Modi part might be like new, but the fetus part is always. I've been very consistent on that.
Someone go check his temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, so needless to say, the whole prophet remarks row is far from being over. This is going to continue to snowball, and we're going to be following up on the story, both to see what happens with these perpetrators, and I'm very curious to see about the results of any investigations into their connections, but also in terms of other people who are the victims of vigilante violence because of their support for Nupur Sharma, or just how this continues to evolve.
Okay. I saw some other commentary about them being BGP members. Some people are saying that they were just friends with other people, close to other people who were BGP members. And being a BGP member doesn't mean you share their ideology. Some people just do it for money and power. So we'll see. We'll see as more. I'm assuming that this news story is something that we're going to continue to do commentary on. Like, it's going to have ripple effects going into the future, like just like the Nupur Sharma event. Like, it wasn't just one news item that stopped. It's going to be like a reaction to this, and the reaction to a reaction to this, and it's going to continue, right?
Yeah. In terms of any affiliation that the perpetrators had to the BJP, I'm not going to comment on that or one way or another because I haven't read any of that or confirmed it myself. So
you had an Instagram post for this, or do you want me to highlight that or no?
Oh shoot, I forgot about that. That would actually be good, but we've kind of been going at this for a while. It's really interesting. Basically, I follow this account on Instagram called The Liberal Take, and they're actually one of the few, like, legitimately, pretty consistent, like, liberal Indian voices that I really agree with. Not all the time, but most of the time. They're just the most consistent and not, like, pandering to Islamists, whatever. Anyways, they made this whole slide deck basically talking about their opinion on this and going after the problems with Islam, like going after the problems in the environment that kind of like led to this thing. I don't know. It was interesting. I thought it was well written. Wait.
I just want to
go back one page.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're saying it's high time for Muslims to realize that an integral contributing factor to Islamophobia are incidents like these. And please, for God's sake, stop blaming atheism by using the murderers have no religions line. Normalize blasphemy. Blasphemy is no crime. Violence is not the answer.
I don't like the word Islamophobia here, but I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to.
You understand the point they're making.
Yes, I understand. I'm not going to be picky because that will be another rant. Okay. Can we clap for the next news?
We are going to clap. This is a big story. Next news. Another big story out of India. Indian journalists arrested for hurting Hindu quote-unquote religious sentiments. Recently, Mohammad Zubair, a journalist and co-founder of India's leading fact-checking website, Alt News, was arrested and charged by police for hurting religious sentiments. Zubair, 39, was charged after calling some far-right Hindu nuns Hindu monks who called for the ethnic cleansing of Indian Muslims hate mongers. And other news sites report that Zubair was cited for a 2018 tweet that showed an image of a hotel sign displaying the name Honeymoon Hotel, which was then repainted to Hanuman Hotel, referencing the Hindu monkey god. It was quickly pointed out that these images were actually stills from a 1983 comedy movie. These charges fall under Indian Penal Code sections 153A, which means promoting enmity between different groups, and 295A, malicious acts intended to outrage religious feelings. Notably, Zubair was one of the first to share a video of the notorious televised debate involving the now former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma commenting on the Prophet's child wife, Aisha. Since then, he has been targeted by members of the BJP and right-wing Hindu groups, and many see his arrest as a blatant act of retaliation. In a moment of ultimate irony, on the same day as Zubair's arrest, India, alongside 12 other countries, signed the 2022 Resilient Democracies Statement, a declaration that calls for, quote, guarding the freedom, independence, and diversity of civil society actors and, quote, protecting the freedom of expression and opinion online and offline, end quote.
Wow, I wish I had a meme for irony so I could just pull it up here right now.
Yeah. So there is so much to get into with this news. Oh, and by the way, Armin, I also have stuff that you can show on screen that I put in the show notes for this story as well. So there's like, okay, let me break it down how I think about it. So let's go through the chronology of events. Zubair posted a video that shows Nupur Sharma making the, quote, supposedly derogatory comments against the Prophet Muhammad. Anyone who knows Islamic scripture will know that they're actually she was just stating what's in Islamic scripture. But, here's an infamous tweet where he is shaming the news company for platforming her, basically. And then because of that, it led to this international diplomatic crises and mass protests and violence and people getting shot and now people getting beheaded, etc. So it's snowballed into this massive thing, right? And Nupur Sharma herself has faced so many different police complaints and FIRs across different states. I believe she was actually arrested. She was suspended from the party, etc., etc. Now, people went through his Twitter and dug up old tweets that hurt the religious sentiments of Hindus and then started filing complaints against him. Now, like I said, I have seen some conflicting reporting from journalists. Some say that the tweet that got him in trouble was the fact that he called these people calling from the ethnic cleansing of Muslims hate mongers, saying that offended their religious sentiments. And then most news agencies that I see talk about how it was because he posted this tweet in 2018 that showed these stills from a movie that showed, Honeymoon Hotel becoming Hanuman Hotel. Turns out, it's actually from a comedy. I don't get the joke, but whatever.
Joke, I think, is only the fact that honeymoon sounds like Hanuman. I think that's the entirety of the joke.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a dad joke.
Or maybe, it's a dad joke. Or people from India, if there's more to the joke than that, please let us know in the live chat. So what's interesting about this complaint that was filed against him in terms of this Hanuman Hotel thing, there are some reports say that it was reported by this handle that only had 1 or 2 followers on Monday, like when this was filed. And then some reports say that it was actually filed by a police officer himself. Now, it's not clear to me, was he the person behind this account? And now this account that filed this complaint against him, doesn't exist anymore, conveniently. Then there was lots of drama with his arrest. So he's previously had a lot of FIRs filed against him since he started really getting involved with alt news full time. For those who don't know, FIR stands for First Information Report. It's like an initial complaint that you make to the police, and then the police either act on it or they don't. It kind of depends. So he's had a lot of legal troubles of people going after him for years now. And at first when they were saying that, we're like arresting you, he thought it was for a previous FIR that was filed against him in 2020 that he had actually received assurance that he would not be arrested for. And then it turns out that they're like, oh no, it's a different matter entirely. But this new FIR, quote unquote, that he was being arrested as a result of, he had received no prior notice of, which is actually a violation of due process under Indian law, or that's my understanding anyways. And then his whole the following legal proceedings that he went through with the police happened in an unusually rushed and hurried manner. Like everything was like all precedent of schedule of how things happen are just thrown out the window. They're just trying to process him in as soon as possible. Since then, he was like in judicial custody for 1 day. It got extended to 4 days. And then as of like a few hours ago, as within the last 24 hours, I believe, and then it was now extended to he's going to be in judicial custody for like 14 days. And then in the meantime, they've like tried to slap him with a million other charges. A million is an exaggeration. Numerous other charges. They're alleging that he received money from Syria and that this is a reason why they're investigating him. And there's all these issues because they want the phone that he originally tweeted this off of, but that phone was stolen from him years ago. So there's a lot of other details I don't know if we want to get into, but things are not going legally kosher in his case.
I think they're just trying to send a message that if you do something that the BGP doesn't like, or I don't know, then they're going to try to come at you in every way possible. They're just whatever accusations they could make, even if they can't prove it in the court of law and eventually they fail, the fact they could still make your life hell and in the process, like they could get
and institute a chilling effect upon everyone else.
Yeah, like this is a misuse of a country's legal system, and it's easy to misuse India's legal system because first of all, they have stupid laws like blasphemy laws. I mean, they're technically not called blasphemy laws, but they are blasphemy laws.
Yeah, 295A is a blasphemy law.
Yeah, and also because even the good laws that they have, they just the bureaucracy and the way that it's just you don't have to do them by the book, and if you don't do them by the book, the process there's not that much penalties for not doing it the way you're supposed to be doing it. You know what I mean? So there's just opens the hand of abusers to just like ruin your life if they want you by just putting you in the system and just like, you know what, you're not supposed to be in here, but find your way out if you can. like good luck. So it's just I mean, it's so sad because India is supposed to mature out of this phase. India has so much potential. Okay, and India, if it manages to come out of this phase, it's a country. India and Nigeria are two countries that have so much potential, and they're being held back by religion. You know what I mean? Like economically, and geopolitically, they could join the other liberal countries, and being part of this alliance of countries that are secular democracies and they respect human rights and the rule of law is respected. And both of these countries are paralyzed because of religion. If they could get out of this phase, there's so much to gain from for the world and the people within it. So this is why atheist activism and secular activism is such an important, should be something that anybody who cares about India should prioritize, but it's not that big of a deal yet. I mean, it is, but growing though, so we'll see.
I have a genuine question. Even if you have sympathies towards the Hindufa ideology, even if you are a right-winger, even if you are a BGP supporter or voter or party member, does anyone contend, does anyone doubt, or does anyone repudiate the fact that this is clearly done in retaliation? I think even right-wing supporters would be like, yeah, clearly this is retaliation. Is there any question? Is there any question?
I just saw in the live chat that some Hindutva people were confirming that what you were describing was accurate. So even our Hindutva followers were, yeah.
I think that's the point I want to make. Like, everyone is just, okay, so this is just open retaliation now. This is just open retaliation against a journalist for tweets for 4 years ago. Okay, Like, I'm glad that we all agree that we can just see what's in front of our eyes. For once, I'm not being freaking gaslit. Okay, you're not seeing what you're actually seeing is usually what I get. But now we're all in agreement. Cool. So, Forever Stormy is saying, I look at Turkey and I see India's future, a nation that was full of hope that is now pretty much dead. Do you want to respond to that?
I don't think it's. I think India is going to. It has a very bright future. Okay, eventually it will grow out of all of this. It's just a matter of, is it going to be slow or fast? But the future is bright. The future is bright for every country, especially India. Okay, but how fast we get there, that's the question.
So some other people in the live chat were explaining the joke to us, which I appreciate. So something I don't remember is saying, oh wait, no. The joke is that Hanuman is an aesthetic and honeymoons are not for aesthetics. And Beep Boop is saying the joke was that Hindufa India honeymoon hotel's name will change to the Hanuman Hotel for decency reasons. So that's one theory of the joke. And Forever Stormy is saying Hanuman is celibate, so equating him to a honeymoon is why they got offended.
Hanuman is celibate? That's so sad. That must be one horny monkey.
And monkeys are already horny.
Oh my god. That's dangerous. Let that monkey do what it wants. Like, goddamn. Who decided that he has to be celibate?
It's called doing the monkey business for a reason.
Yeah, what the hell? Monkeys who don't. I can't say what I want to say on YouTube. But monkeys, like, how is he has not lost his mind already? He's a monkey. Come on, like somebody go and give this man. Oh, not a man. Somebody go and give this monkey a blowjob or something. Can I?
Oh my god. Okay.
You know what? You know what Hanuman needs? Hanuman needs a Hanulingam. Okay. Start Hanu lingams across India so people could rub it so that the monkey could feel a thing. Poor guy. I feel bad now.
Oh my god. Okay, wait. Here's what the police had to say about this, super offensive, image he posted. Quote, these words in the picture found to be used by Mohammad Zubair against a particular religious community are highly provocative and more than sufficient to incite feelings of hatred amongst people, which can be detrimental for maintenance of public tranquility in society. Highly provocative and more than sufficient to incite feelings of hatred. Okay, what's ironic is that this film that he took these stills from is still publicly available everywhere on the internet, and you can even watch it on YouTube. So they're not going after that. They're not trying to push indecency charges against the people who posted that. They're not trying to get YouTube to strike down that like they were doing with Twitter. It's just so blatant. They just don't even there's no attempt to even make it seem legitimate. Swamp Nil is pointing out the section of the IPC that one of his charges was filed under, section 295A. If you were wondering what one of India's most serious penal codes is, technically this is the same for Bangladesh and Pakistan as well. It's 295A. This is a holdover from the British. And Armin and I would be very familiar with this because we have both had FIRs filed against us, also citing 295A.
Yes.
We're amongst good company. We're amongst good company.
Here's the thing. A lot of people say, like, this is not, you can't blame Hinduism for this. This is a blasphemy law that was given to India by the British. Okay. And that's a fair point.
Because of murders that happened because of blasphemy against Islam.
Yes, and also, where did the British get this from? Okay, I mean, the British are to blame, okay? But the British went to the Brahmins and were like, show us your laws, okay? And they were like, well, we have the Manusmriti. So it came out of Hinduism, okay? So everyone's to blame. We can't be like, oh, don't blame Hinduism, blame the British. I was like, I will blame both. How about both? Anyways.
So something else I wanted to talk about today is there has been the Supreme Court commented on what Nupur Sharma did. And I mean, it just happened within the past 24 hours. And honestly, I think it deserves its own segment that we'll probably cover next week. But I have come to the the only correct opinion on this, Armin. The only based and correct opinion on this. Okay. Because the Supreme Court essentially said that Nupur Sharma is to blame. They blamed her for everything that happened in the country after what she said. A lot of people blame Zubair for the beheading of the Hindu tailor Kanhaya. Okay. Here's the correct opinion. Mohammad Zubair is not to blame for these things. Nupur Sharma is not to blame for these things. Neither of them should have been arrested. Neither of them should have charges filed against them for what they've said in this matter. In fact, this blasphemy law should be repealed altogether. How about that? How about that's the good, consistent position to take? I just gave you guys the correct opinion.
Yes, that is the correct opinion. However, should I be maybe the filing of the charges filed against her were wrong? Okay. However, some people are like, yeah, but her firing was not wrong. Is that fair?
Yeah, I feel like that's a totally different matter. That's like
okay.
the political party is at will to work with whoever they do or do not want to work with. Whether I think it's completely ridiculous for them to suddenly call her a fringe element when she was mentored and nurtured by the Home Minister Amit Shah himself, I think that's ridiculous. But yeah, they can do whatever they want if they want to work with her or not.
By the way, some people in the live chat were saying that Hinduism doesn't have blasphemy laws. Hinduism definitely is anti-blasphemy, and
100%.
the blasphemy, the punishment for blasphemies are like extreme. I have seen Hindu scripture, both old and new, that is extremely anti-blasphemy. I don't know if you guys have read your own religious scripture. Maybe like you should. This is why I'm here, to teach Indians and Hindus about Hinduism, because you guys seem to be unaware about your own culture. Okay, so I, as a foreigner, I'm here to help, to reintroduce you. In fact, I will do a video on this. I will do a video about blasphemy laws within Hindu scripture for you guys, so you guys could learn something about India and Hinduism. You're welcome.
Brian Bradley is saying blasphemy laws should have zero place in 2022. 100% agree. Real ass Indian liberals will agree. The real ones. And D is saying, how about we just blame the beheaders for this? Yeah? Yeah, I like that. How about we hold the people who take violent action against people and property accountable for the crimes that they've done? Not for people saying whatever about so-and-so's religion. That's lame. That's for children. Okay? If you're damaging people or property, let's have a conversation. Anyways.
Okay, so people are saying, Kanya Baba is saying, oh, how pure Susanna to not recognize the Zubair's jihadist intentions. I mean, that comes across as you being very... the fact that you're talking about it like this makes it very... I would be very skeptical about your narrative of this being very true. But here's the thing: even if you guys agree, even if there's like let's say this guy is a secret jihadi, okay? Can you be like, okay, arrest a man, prove do the due process, okay, and then prove that this guy has a jihadi intentions, and then book him for that, okay? Can you not agree at the same time that arresting a man for blasphemy is wrong, but if you could prove that this man had jihadi intentions in the court of law with evidence while he could defend himself with a lawyer, then sure, then arrest him for that. These are not contradictory, okay? And while he's in prison for whatever jihadi intentions that you think he had, he shouldn't get additional prison or anything else extra for blasphemy. Like, can you condemn that at the same time? Like, yes, arrest this man for his jihadi intention, but blasphemy laws are insane. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, now that he's been arrested and there's all these investigations happening, people are talking about payments he received from Syria and Pakistan. He's contending that that was money received to his company. The details on that weren't clear at this point, so that is something I want to follow up on because that did signal a red flag to me. I'm like, wait a second, what?
I don't think
So
that's red.
I'm willing
So
to be
okay,
very critical of him.
okay. Maybe he's guilty, maybe he's innocent, but I could totally see that for a lot of people who are tend to be bigoted, money coming money coming and from an Islamic country must be a jihadi. Okay. Hey, guess what? I got money from Iran. Okay. My dad used to send me money. Okay. So what does that make me? Does that make me a jihadi? Right? Like, I just think like to a lot of people's minds, like, oh, funds out of Syria. That's all I need to hear. Jihadi confirmed. That's all the information they need. By the way, we just got a $20 donation. Thank you. Anonymous donation of $20. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sweet.
That's so kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a heated story. There's a lot we could get into. People
Make
are
sure.
calling him
I hope it's not out of Syria, that donation. Like, take it back if it's from Syria. But yeah, go. Sorry.
Yeah, there's so much we could get into here still, like especially with reactions from the live chat. There's so much we could get into. Yeah, but we're just gonna leave it on that. I'm going to be doing doing more of a deep dive into these details, and I'm also perfectly willing to go back and correct myself on anything I got wrong.
Is there the Instagram post you don't want me to show
that? At this point, no, because it was just examples of more tweets that he got that was part of his, allegations of hurting religious sentiments. But the main one was the Hanuman one.
Can we clap for the next news?
No, this is really sad, actually.
Okay. Next news.
2 dead and over 20 injured in Islamist shooting at Norwegian gay bar in Norway. On June 25th, 2 people were killed and 21 were injured by a lone gunman in a shooting incident at a gay nightclub in central Oslo, Norway. The authorities suspect the shooting to be an act of Islamist terrorism. I say terrorism because of the YouTube algorithm. We mean, violent radical extremism. A 43-year-old man, Zanyar Matapur, a Norwegian citizen of Iranian origin, has been arrested for the attacks and charged with murder, attempted murder, and acts of terrorism. Jonas Gahr Støre, Prime Minister of Norway, called the cruel act of terror, quote, a deeply shocking attack on innocent people. Oslo District Court declared Zanyar Matapur responsible for the murderous attack and is held in pre-trial detention for the next 4 weeks. According to a report, Matapur suffers from mental illness and is a fundamentalist Islamist. The police found out that the suspect had previously partaken in extremist Islamic groups. They first became aware of the suspect in 2015 on suspicion of being a radical Islamist. So obviously, this is a horrific thing to happen in general, but for the LGBT community, this is particularly heartbreaking because this happened, in Pride Month. And this is supposed to be the month where we celebrate the strength that it takes to come forward in societies and communities that have usually shamed us and made us hate ourselves for the people who we love and are attracted to. And so this event happened. Yeah, 2 people were killed, dozens injured at a gay bar. And then subsequently, Pride in Oslo got canceled. And it's nevertheless, there were hundreds of people that came out despite Pride being canceled as a protest and, really tearfully chanting and sharing slogans to say, we're here, we're not going away. It doesn't matter how you terrorize us. Like, we're not going back in the closets. and we are going to live as vibrantly as we did before. You know, it's something that definitely affects me very deeply as a member of the LGBT community. I think about what I went through as an American when the shooting at the Pulse Club in Orlando happened, um, and how I felt so scared to go to Pride that year because all of a sudden it feels like there's a target on everyone. You don't know. Um, but I made the decision to still go anyways because it's so important to be visible and not live our lives in fear. Um, it's just really, it's horrific. It's horrible. Um, Armin, do you have any initial reactions? Because there's an angle of this that I also want to get into.
I mean, it's just horrible, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to. I'm very bad at like expressing how tragic a tragic event is because it just seems so obvious that it doesn't need to be said. But obviously, it does need to be said. But yeah, I just agree with everything you said. I wonder, do we know if this guy was part of a bigger group or acted upon itself? Do we know specifically what version of Islamism was this guy under influence of? Do we know anything about that? Like, have we
Mm-hmm.
seen? Because the fact that he was Iranian origin
That
makes me
surprised me.
wonder. Um, yeah, because there are radical groups that are come out of Iran. Usually, they have different targets, right? Than the Sunni ones. Like, I mean, I'm assuming this guy was Sunni. Like, I don't know. My biases are showing here because I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming that even though this guy is Iranian, the fact that he did an attack like this to me suggests that he must have been Sunni. But I might be wrong about this. Like, even though he was Iranian, he was still Sunni. Because
So
Shia, I'm not. I'm not being biased here because I'm not saying that Shia groups don't have radical attacks like this. They do, but the targets are often different. They have different motivation. They have the different kind of people they attack. But anyways, get going.
So I'll read some information in terms of his background that is available so far. You know, investigations are going, this may change. So keep that in mind. The suspect is identified as 42-year-old Norwegian Iranian Zaniar Matapur, who moved from Iran to Norway in 1991 when he was 12. According to the public broadcaster NRK, Matapur had been in contact with Afran Bhatti, an Islamist extremist with several violent convictions. On the 14th of June, Bhatti, who is known to represent Eldon in the past, I don't know who Eldon is, posted burning a rainbow flag with a caption calling for the Kaying. I don't want to put these words so closely together on YouTube. For the Kaying of LGBT people on Facebook. Bhatti is a leading figure of Prophetens Ummah, which has recruited people for the Islamic State. Verdun's gang reported that Matapur had been stopped by police in April when he was seen in the same car as Bhatti. The police later confirmed that they had known of the suspect since 2015, believing that he had been radicalized into Islamic extremism. Matapur had an extensive criminal background to drug and assault offenses, but had only received minor convictions prior to the attack, according to a Norwegian prosecutor. His mother said that he had previously been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So what I find interesting is he came from Iran as a child. So there would be less of the Shia influence in his adult life, presumably. And then of the people that he was known to be found affiliating with, they were Sunni extremists. Not
Wahhabism,
to, be, I don't know. Now it sounds like I'm just like playing cover for Shiism because everyone knows I'm a
yeah,
secret Shia, but
yeah. This just confirms that you're doing all this time, Susanna, as a secret Shia. But no, like
Tequila.
seriously, yeah. So no, I mean, I didn't know, but it confirms that this guy was more under Sunni radicalism. Even though he was Iranian, he was not under the influence of Shia radicalism. This is not a defense. Again, just to make it clear, there are a lot. There's technically, I think there's more victims of Shia radicalism. Okay, it's just that their victims are usually around Iran. Okay, and they're mostly Sunnis. Okay, the victims of Shia terror attacks are mostly people in the Middle East. Okay, and there's a lot of them. Probably a lot. There's a high number of them. Okay, so we're not defending Shia Islam here. This just sounds like something a Wahhabi extremists would do. And this guy, even though he was Iranian, he was under the influence of um, ISIS. So that confirms that.
Or someone known to affiliate and recruit for them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I think that almost confirms it. You were saying he was also had also mental issues, right?
According to his mother, he had been previously diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So this reminds me of the other angle that I wanted to talk about this on. So last week, you talked on the Secular Jihadists channel. You talked to a YouTuber called Friendly Muslim. And Friendly Muslim brought up this incident. And he said, when these mass shootings happen, if the perpetrator is a Christian who has mental illness, the media doesn't stick on the fact that he's Christian. They stick on the fact that he has a mental illness. But in this case, they're sticking on the fact that he's an Islamist, he's a Muslim, but we know that he has schizophrenia. Doesn't that seem like unfair targeting or unfair bias against the Muslim community? And at first I was like, I can see what the point he's making. But then upon researching this incident, I'm like, no, this isn't just the media harping on the fact that this guy comes from a Muslim background. He actually has a record with the police. That doesn't seem like unfair bias towards the Muslim community at all. To say, no, this guy legitimately had, according to the investigation, links to affiliates and people who recruit for ISIS. Like, that's not targeting the Muslim community or unfairly reporting the mental illness versus his Islamist connections. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, you're right. You're right. And they're also mentioning the mental illness part. Like, it's not like they're hiding it. Are they not hiding? Are they not mentioning it? Like, it's in the news. It's everywhere that is reported. They're mentioning this guy's history with mental illness as well. And again, the answer is, which one is responsible, Islam or mental illness? The answer is both. The answer is both. Okay. I don't think this guy would do this. Okay. I might be wrong here, but if the guy had only mental illness and no Islam, I don't think this would happen. Okay. And I think also with this guy specifically, if they had Islam and no mental illness, I also think this wouldn't happen. Okay, I think it's I think there's so many people that like want to defend Islam. They're like, oh, this is just because of mental illness. Islam has nothing to do with this. Okay, and I think a lot of people on our side also like, oh, this is Islam. This is only Islam. Okay, like, well, no, mental illness probably also had to do with this. Okay, they're both. These are both, and they actually they exaggerate the influence of each other. Like, they make each other worse. They have a negative influence of each other. Okay, religion, when added to anything, it makes that thing worse. Okay, so you have mental illness, it's already bad. You add some religion to it, okay, it becomes a lot worse. It poisons everything that you add it to. Okay, including mental illness.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing that this also makes me think about is that, D is saying they're reporting honestly. How you deal with it reveals your bias. Very good point, D. One thing that this makes me think about is, this is like, I'm bringing you guys into the queer world. Okay, so as a member of the LGBT community, there's a huge debate and contention within our community, specifically in America, about police at Pride. The more far lefty you are in the LGBT community, you will completely reject any police presence at Pride. And I used to be one of these people, because the first Pride was a riot. This is just a fact. Look up the Stonewall riots. And it was an anti-police riot. And it was the impetus for the first Pride because it was people rejecting like police harassment and standing up for themselves and saying, I'm not going to get into the history of the Stonewall riots. Anyways, and Nowadays, in lights of events like this, I think it is so naive for the LGBT community to demonize the police when we have people who target our community in deadly ways like this. There was also that incident that happened in Idaho Pride, where all those white supremacists, were caught right before they were about to do God knows what at the Idaho Pride parade. Extreme with just like weapons to the teeth, terrifying. And so to say, no, we shouldn't have any police at Pride when there in San Francisco, there are almost 1 million people come to Pride. We're sitting ducks. We need protection from the people who it's their job to protect and serve us. I pay taxes. They better damn well protect me when I'm a sitting duck in an event of hundreds of thousands of people. I just think that this rhetoric of no police at Pride, Pride is a riot, blah, 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 blah. Like the police are always against our community. There's a history of that, but we also need this protection. It's a matter of life and death. That's my own personal problem with the LGBT community, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, the far lefty branch of the LGBT community, like a lot of them.
Yeah, and I get so riled up about it because in my community, where I am in the Bay Area, that's the vast majority of people. So it seems like the whole LGBT community. I know that it's not necessarily. It's like this way in New York. It's like this way in SF. Drives me crazy. And I think it's important to talk about. Like, these are examples of why this matters so much. D is saying, for God's sake, do not fund the police. Thank you.
Do not defund the police. You said fund.
Oh, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Stormy saying, theologically, are Shias more anti-gay than Sunnis, or the other way around? Theologically, they're both extremely anti-gay. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's a way to measure this, but they all go full out on saying that this is an abomination, right? So I don't know how you could measure how strongly. They both have hadith that is completely against it, okay? I think the level of radicalism and the nature of the radicalism has more to do. So when it comes to religion itself, theologically, it provides you with everything you need to be against it, okay? The nature of what many Sunni groups do versus what many Shias do has more to do with recent political trends in the Islamic world and what enemies different groups have been put in front of. So, for example, the history of Wahhabism is very recent history, okay, and and the recent and Shia radicalism is even more recent, okay. So when it comes to the nature of Shia radicalism, you have to look at everything after 1979. So this is like that you can't go to see what the targets are and why they're just like we discussed, like Roe versus Wade, yeah, right. So the fact that Christians are focusing on abortion, even though there are much greater sins in the Bible, right? You have to look at it in recent Christian history. You can't just be like, why are they focusing on this? You can't find that in the Bible, okay? So when it comes to Shias, why are they doing what they're doing? Yeah, you can see the feel for it in the scripture, but then why are they hyper-fixating on something? You have to look at recent history to figure that
out. Good point.
Okay, can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can.
Next
news. Turkish LGBT activists arrested for defying the ban on pride marches. On June 26th, hundreds of people marched through the streets of Istanbul, Turkey, to demonstrate for the rights of the LGBT community, despite the Turkish government banning the pride parade since 2015. The Turkish authorities attacked and arrested many before the rally even began. On the day of the event, protesters gathered with rainbow flags in the streets around Taksim Square, a location specifically known for being the epicenter of protests against the regime. The crowd raised slogans such as, "The future is queer," and "We are here, we are queer, we are not going anywhere." The Turkish police arrested 373 participants at the Pride March. According to several eyewitnesses, the police even tried to prevent the press from filming the conflict. Bülent Kilik, A veteran award-winning AFP photojournalist was arrested at the scene. Amnesty International Turkey campaigner Milena Buyum stated, quote, all those detained solely for their participation in Pride must be released immediately and unconditionally. Even though homosexuality has been decriminalized in Turkey since 1858, the LGBT community has faced increasing hostility from religious fundamentalists since the Islamic conservative government led by the Turkish president Recep Tayyip Erdogan came into power. So as much as I don't love to see people getting arrested and abused by the Turkish police, I do love to see hundreds of people rising up, defying and rejecting the Islamism of Erdogan's government. I love it.
This is the country that wants to be part of the EU. Well, like they don't. You get guys. The main criteria for joining the EU is having a fabulous gay pride parade. Okay, you have to have that. You cannot join the EU.
They put that in the charter.
I don't know why you're like, I'm questioning your NATO membership at this point. Okay, like how could you be a NATO member and not have a gay pride parade? Like,
honestly,
this is why you like Doorknob is like, no EU for you. Okay, somebody was saying that this is, I don't know if this is true, like this is not specific to gay pride events. I don't know what they mean, but is that something that
I need to pull up my sources, but the sources that I read said that this was instituted after 2015, after like over 100,000 people showed up at Pride, and that they continually cite just security issues without like ever making any effort to improve the security issues. Like it just seems very convenient to me. Let me find the exact source. Okay, so Istanbul Pride has taken place every year since 2003, after the spectacular Pride Parade in Istanbul in 2014 with more than 100,000 participants. The Turkish authorities have repeatedly banned the event, officially stating, quote unquote, security reasons. Nevertheless, vast crowds of LGBT supporters gather yearly at the end of Pride Month.
So I know in Turkey sometimes they use excuses to ban something that they don't like. What do you think is the motivation for this? Do you think like because Turkey right now really needs its international relationships, especially so who are they appeasing? Like there's like what's the demographic that they're trying to appease with actions like this?
Presumably an older Turkish demographic domestically. Because as much as Erdogan has tried to Islamize Turkey society, put this into the education, put this into the social norms, in the rules, particularly regarding the youth, polling shows that the Turkish youth are overwhelmingly beginning to reject this Islam in public life that he's been trying to institute, or even the more like Ottomanization of Turkey at large. So it's definitely not to appeal to the younger audience. Presumably,
so it's
appeal to older generations.
People. We just need older people in Turkey to just, I don't know how to say this without YouTube might think I'm saying something that I'm not. Okay. Just maybe just get older faster, so that what happens when you get old happens. Okay. So that you can get replaced by younger people faster. Okay. So I think that will save Turkey. What do you think? We just need to wait for young people to
think that it's way too simplistic to say, we just need to wait for an older generation to go away. We have to pause, stop everything because Poochie is here. Look at the puppy.
No, it's fine. Continue.
I think you just take everything for granted when you just say, just wait for the older generation to go away. It's way too simplistic. Like, it just makes it seem like it's just a matter of time when we actively need to fight for these things like tooth and nail the whole time, because things can go backwards, and younger generations can actually take on the attitudes of these older generations whose attitudes we don't appreciate. Like, we can see now that over previous generations in America, homophobia was dropping starkly. And then suddenly with Gen Z, the youngest generation, we see homophobia rising again. Like, why is that? What's going on? There's a lot of debate about why that could happen. But the point is, you can't take it for granted that each following generation is going to be more progressive. You need to actually push to ensure that that's the case. I love to see the live chat just completely like stop what we're talking about. We're talking about the dog now. Yeah, Doorknob Vincent, why is Susanna even still talking? There's a puppy here.
Sorry for honestly, the distraction.
Point taken. I see how it is. I get it.
We should have when we have tragic news, we just should have a puppy moment just so that we could like help people get over the tragedy that you discovered. Like, okay, that tragic news is over. Here's puppy time. We should have puppy time.
Actually, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in complete favor of that. Gotham is saying the puppy stole your thunder. I mean, I lost my own train of thought.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, we need Poochie to be available for the next news, because the next news is also very upsetting.
She left. Okay. We'll see. Okay, if she comes back, we'll have her back on. Okay, so we can't clap, I'm assuming.
No, definitely not.
Okay. Wait, before we go, Stormy's asking, does Susanna have a pet?
No. I'm not allowed to have pets at my apartment.
Okay. Maybe later when you move one day. Then we could show at the same time. I'll bring my puppy, you bring your puppy, and we share. Okay. All right. So no clapping.
And they will be puppies together.
It would be so great. All right. Okay. Next. Okay. Wait. This should be serious now. Serious.
Yeah, I need to solemn.
Okay. All right. Next news.
Next news: systemic massacre. Jihadists kill 132 civilians in Mali. On June 10th, 132 civilians in Mali were murdered by members of Masina Kabita, an extremist rebel group affiliated with Al-Qaeda. The group is led by the Fulani preacher Amadou Kufa. Quote, they have also been burning huts, houses, and stealing cattle. It's really a free-for-all, said an official who asked to remain anonymous for security reasons. Nuhum Togo, leader of a party near the nearby town of Bankas, stated that the clashes with the jihadists broke out during army operations in the area 2 weeks ago. The armed extremists then returned on motorcycles as payback. According to him, the attacks happened on June 10th. He also said that the death toll was higher than what was reported by the government. According to the UN, the terrorists... Oh, I was supposed to not say that word. According to the UN, the terrorists and the Malian army are responsible for the attacks against civilians. There has been an Islamist uprising in Mali since 2012.
Why is this happening? Why are they doing this to civilians?
So people in the area are saying that this is because 2 weeks before this massacre, the army was trying to take action against the jihadists. And so as retaliation, as payback, they just went after random civilians in nearby villages.
Okay, I know Islamists are not very good with logic, but I still don't understand how that follows. Like within their mindset, how is that revenge against the people? I don't understand. Somebody, like, I mean, I understand. Are they racially? How is this affiliated with the people who they want to take revenge of?
So the same person who said to the press that previous thing that it was because of like payback from the army, He also is quoted as saying, quote, "They arrived and told the people, 'You are not Muslims,' in Fulani, then took the men away, and 100 people went with them," he said. "Some 2 kilometers away. Then they systematically shot people."
So this is okay. Now I get it. This is an expression of might, right? Like to show that we have. Look at our. So basically, it's kind of like when the Islamic Republic of Iran goes after civilians because they don't have the power to go at military officials, just to show that they can do something, right? So these people are desperate to show that they're not. They are able to do something by going after the people who can't defend themselves, going after the weakest, just to exert some authority, to show some that they have certain level of authority and power within that region. It's just an expression of force.
Yes, I think that's
an expression of force with 132 civilians being massacred as an expression
Possibly
of like, hey,
more.
look, okay, we have power. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. These numbers are not being reported. Like, okay, so like this is like, these numbers are insanely high. Like, how is this not headline news? I mean, like Africa doesn't get that much attention, does it? Like we cover like the news about one person. Okay, even relative to India, like this is getting a lot less news. Even though like in India, like you have one person dying. Over here, it's just like, oh yeah, 132. Like, oh, okay, why is this like? I mean, if it was, can you imagine 132 civilians dying, like just being killed by Islamists in Europe? Like this would be,
oh my God,
this would be in headline news everywhere. 132, like for example, the Paris Islamic attack. How many people died there?
the one that happened at the football stadium?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I feel like it was maybe 15. Don't quote me on that, but
I thought it was 30. Somebody remind us?
I don't remember.
Yeah. But again, but remember how the world reacted to that? I mean, justifiably so. 21. Somebody's saying 21.
Thank you.
Okay, but like 132. Like, does anybody know about this? Like, I didn't know about this until now. Like, nobody gives a crap about African lives. Like, not nobody, but not that many people. Like, just compare the reaction to this to the 21 people who died in France over that Islamic attack. Like it's like so different. It's like, oh yeah, 132 civilians. Another day in Africa, I guess. Like people, that's how. I'm not saying this happens every day in Africa. I'm just saying other people's perception is like, well, of course it's Africa. What do you expect?
Yeah. So here's some more information. This is I'm quoting from France 24. Some areas of the country, especially in the center, have fallen under the control of the jihadists, which vigorously enforce their worldviews. Civilians also often find themselves caught in the crossfire in clashes between rival armed groups, including those affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. This is crazy. These next 2 sentences are crazy. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. The number of civilians killed in the attacks attributed to extremist groups has almost doubled since 2020 in the Central Sahel, a coalition of Western African NGOs said in a report released last Thursday. A UN document published in March said that nearly 600 civilians had been killed in Mali in 2021 in violence blamed mainly on jihadist groups, but also on self-defense militias and armed forces. So since 2020 alone, the number of those civilians killed by extremists has doubled. In 2021, it was 600. So just to like get a scale of this problem. And you're right, like there's very little coverage of that. At which point, I want to make a little statement. Ibn Qayyim is saying, true, Armin, few people care about what happens in Africa. D is saying this is a huge tragedy. Witnesses say that it is the largest massacre ever heard of here. And D is also saying, thank you, Armin. So wait, there was another comment by D that I wanted to highlight. Shoot. Basically, part of the reason why we're covering this today is because of D, actually. So for those who don't know, D is a fantastic editor that we have here at Atheist Republic. And she is often sending me a lot of news that happens in Africa. And she really pushed me to cover this news. And I think it's important because I said to her, I was like, to be honest, oftentimes when it comes to these African stories, I don't know how to cover these very well because I don't have an in-depth knowledge of the different parts of the environment that go on to give rise to this. Some of it seems more instability related and geopolitical, less than maybe strictly religious, which is more what we cover. And Dee said to me, he's like, well, 2 years ago, we didn't know anything about India, but like, look at the depth and breadth of knowledge that we have now. So that really pushed me, and I thought about it and I was like, no, you're right. We should cover these stories more because there have been numerous mass killings, like tens and tens and tens of people across different regions of Africa from various insurgency groups that have happened in the recent months that we haven't covered. And so I want to change that. So we're going to start covering a bit more news out of Africa because, like Armin said, like, where are people highlighting this? Well, I have to acknowledge it. Like, that's part of my problem too. I was like making a decision that was like, well, I don't know how to talk about this, so we're not going to cover it, but I want to change that. So, shouts out to Dee. Thank you to Dee.
Okay, one thing also that I want to mention is that this also plays into the narrative that we have here, which is the influence of the world liberal order. Okay, and I understand that the causes of stuff like this is multifactorial. Okay, they're like drought is, for example, one reason. Like climate change is also one reason. Okay, which is actually, never mind. That's also why you should be supporting people who are fighting climate change. But one of the other factors, again, I'm not trying to say that this is the only factor. One of the other factors is the competition of countries like Russia and China within against them becoming major players in Africa, and Western liberal powers having to compete with that. Okay, because as much as people might hate the influence of Western democracies, the influence they have over a country like in Africa or other countries, the fact is that their influence is a lot more preferable to the sources of funding and sources of politics that influences that come out of Russia and China into these places. Okay, one of the reasons, for example, that you're seeing more political instability in Africa is the increase in coup attempts, because coup attempts used to get you blacklisted for funding abilities from organizations like the World Bank or IMF, right? So there was a lot of this incentivizes people for attempting coups because it would cut off access to a lot of funding. But you see, when now we have other sources of funding or other sources of political support coming out of China or Russia, then that the motivation comes back. Okay, because now all of a sudden funding coming out of like the IMF or World Bank are not the only sources of funding. So you have more motivations to go and attempt political disability because China will still fund you even if you attempt illiberal actions like this. Okay, so this is why we have to be pushing back against illiberal governments like the CCP or Russia trying to or Turkey or Iran. Okay, so these are the main threats to the liberal order in the world. Okay, Iran's trying to exert its power out of its border. So as much as we, for example, complain about India or even a country as extreme as Saudi Arabia, they're a threat mostly within themselves or maybe close to their region. Okay, India is just, the problem is within India. Okay, in fact, India might even have a positive influence outside of its borders. It does have a positive influence outside of its borders. Saudi Arabia is within Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Okay, but countries like Iran and Turkey, Russia, and China, they are major threats to the way everything works, like the direction that the world is heading towards creating more peace, more stability, less violence. Okay, ever since the World War I and World War II, that direction is challenged by these four countries. Okay, because they are providing an alternative to liberalism, and especially when it comes to China, they're backing it up with money. Okay, and in Africa, that's a toxic influence. That's why we have to push against it. Does that make sense?
Oh no, that makes complete sense. Yeah.
I also, yes, people are pointing out in live chat, and it's correct. It's correct to point that. Okay, France's influence in Africa was horrific. Okay, I'm talking about now. Okay, yes, I know France has a terrible history in Africa. Okay, and that should not be ignored, and it should not be whitewashed. Okay, right now, France's influence in Africa is a positive one. Okay, you don't have
to. Well, even contemporary France has some pretty major problems, but you're saying even considering those things, it's still preferable.
Yes, I'm talking now. I'm not talking. Yes, I understand that even recent history. I'm not talking ancient history, France. Okay, like I'm not talking about ancient history. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking very, very even up until very recently. Okay, France's influence in Africa has been horrible. Okay, I'm not trying to excuse any of that. Okay, but right now, France's influence is a force for good in Africa, and it's competing. And if it's removed, as it was removed here, okay, in Mali, which is like being filled, I'm assuming, with Russia, right?
Russia has led an extremely successful disinformation campaign in Mali.
I know, but it's exactly that has the fact that is ruining Mali, okay, and it's happening because France's removal from these areas. You know what I mean? So as much as, again, the problem is that France's evil history in Mali, it makes it easy for people to be for the removal of France in these regions. But I hope the thing is that history needs to be used as a way to learn lessons, but not as a way to hold on to grudges. Okay, because calculations change, people's influences change, and you have to deal with new realities on the ground. Anyways, I don't know if people in the live chat are agreeing or disagreeing with me on this. Do you want to highlight that?
I mean, I don't even know what's chaos in the live chat as per usual. I think here's a good comment from Ibn Qayyam. He's saying the literacy rate in Mali is only 30 to 40%. As someone who has interacted with illiterate people, most lack the skills to act rationally or consistently with their beliefs and are easily influenced. And I think I would like to leave the final word from D, because it's a very good comment. D is saying, politics be damned. We need to highlight religious violence, and we are not humanists if we are ignoring Africa.
I agree, but the thing is that politics is influencing these loss of lives, right? The thing is that this amount of instability and the rise of Islamism in these countries would not happen if these countries were politically more stable, if they had functioning governments. When you don't have the rule of law, right? When you don't have governments that have strong armies to create stability, the vacuum that you create is filled in these countries by Islamism. Okay, so so the solution is not just to call out Islamism, okay, because you can't expect these vacuums to be filled anything else other than Islamism if you let the vacuum exist, if you let the vacuum of power exist. So the main part of this equation is to fight not just anti-Islamism, but for political stability, for functioning governments, stable functioning governments. And you do that by getting world powers, liberal world powers, to have a influence and have trade and relationship with these countries. There is no other way. We cannot just wish stability upon these countries. You need the influence of world powers. They need to get involved. It's not gonna. And again, like you were like, oh no, let them do it themselves. Ibn Khayyam just pointed out, like look at the level of like if you pull out with the level of gullibility and education that exists here, you're opening the door for Islamism, for Russia, for China, for even Iran is playing the Africa game right now. Iran is coming in with Shiism to like as if like the problem was not big enough. Iran is moving into Africa with like, hey, let me add my poison to this mix as well. Shia radicalism is growing in Africa, significant, like it's really fast. So the vacuum will get filled. If you don't fill it with liberal, a liberal order, it will get filled with all these illiberal ones. You can't be like, oh, Western powers have a bad history, so stay out. Well, yeah, bad history. Now you have something worse. And like, for example, if you look at, and Russians are being very clever with their propaganda in Mali and in other African countries. They're actually being very good at it here. And one thing they do is that they know that a lot of these people from these African countries are tired of constantly looking at news, especially international news, just focusing only on the bad stuff. So if you look at Russian news coming out of Africa, like it's competing with France 24 and stuff, they're like, hey, here's some non-radical related news from Africa. And a lot of people are like, well, I appreciate that. Thank you for covering that. You know what I mean? So like, hey, like giving a positive spin. So the Russian, they know they're very good at what they're doing. And I think like maybe some people who are on the liberal side have to learn like from the Russian outlets to see why are they being more appreciated by more Africans. You have to, and it's complicated. Does that make sense? I could go on about this.
There's a lot to get into.
Yeah.
But we're certainly going to be like continuing to cover more stories like this moving forward. So whatever you weren't able to say this week, we will find an opportunity again soon enough. Next news is very interesting.
Oh, you have some
more
Instagram
drama from Iran.
All right.
And I have,
can we
Armin,
clap?
We have 2 videos that we can show in the background, but do not play the audio for either of them.
Okay.
So play them while we're talking about it, not at the end.
Okay. Cool. I'm going to play once you start doing the commentary on it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So
or just tell me when to play it. Just tell me like bring the first video, bring the second video. Just tell me.
No, do exactly what you just said.
Okay, fine. All right. Next news.
Moral panic. Teens arrested in Iran after hijab-less skating event. On June 21st, the police arrested several teenage girls in Shiraz, Iran, for not wearing a hijab at a quote-unquote skateboarding day event. 5 organizers of the event were also arrested. A video of the Go Skateboarding Day event went viral on Iran's social media sites, causing massive outrage among religious fanatics. In the video, numerous teens can be seen hanging out at a skate park with girls and boys freely intermingling, and several girls openly showing their hair. The governor of Shiraz, Lotfullah Shebani, claimed that the event was held, quote, with the intention of breaking social, religious, and national rules and norms. A religious march will occur in Shiraz on July 15th after the Friday prayers for, quote, supporters of the sanctity of modesty, zeal, and hijab. Wearing the hijab is compulsory for all women and teenage girls in the theocratic country of Iran. Not wearing the hijab in a public place is a criminal offense and may result in being arrested, fined, or even lashed. So here on this screen, you can see video of the skating day event. And you just see, honestly, to me, this looks like a normal Friday in Oakland. I'm like, you just see all these boys and girls hanging out, like wearing kind of, baggy skating clothing, like very cool, just hanging, chilling, like walking around skating. Very, very normal teenage behavior. But this caused outrage. This freaked people out. and a lot of these people got arrested.
So I don't know if people understand what's going on here, because this video, a few seconds, like less than 1 minute video, create shockwaves in Iran. Okay, so the people who recorded this and spread this, they were like trying to show how bad things have gotten in Iran, right? Like, look at all these girls out without hijab, and I'm assuming that the way that these girls are, like, look at them, like, they're not wearing. This is Iran. This is Iran, Shiraz, Iran. This is the city that I lived all my childhood in, and I don't recognize it, because look at all the you wouldn't look at all the hair, right? This is in Iran.
They have amazing hair. Like, I'm jealous, honestly.
The thing is that this was, there are Iran has like two completely different worlds, right? Like, there are people that live lifestyles that is completely unrecognizable and alien to the religious side, right? And a lot of religious people live in bubbles that they don't recognize this. Like, they see this, like, wait, this is our country, right? What I mean? But the thing interesting is that these kids, they also are living based on Western lifestyles, and they like probably watch like Western media, Western music, Western movies, and they want to go on dates and have like, they know, they live lives that for them, their religious lifestyle is completely alien, and they are considered, the religious people are considered like, who are they? Like, they don't even recognize that existed. Like, I grew up in a family, like I grew up in an environment when if I met a extremely religious person, I was like, oh my god, this guy's wacko. Like this is like the fringe, crazy few people that we don't associate with. But those religious people also look at this, and they're like, if they saw people like this, they're like, oh my god, these are like fringe, liberal degenerates that happen to live in our country. Okay, but that was when I was a kid. Now, because of social media, the outrage that you get from people living like this is a lot more, because a lot of religious people are now more aware of the fact that they're sharing the country with people like this. And they're like, how is this happening? Why are we allowing this? Like, who are these people? Is this our country? So this video went viral, and people are like, where are the officials? Like, a lot of religious people like, how long has this been going on? Like, is this just like things that could just happen in Iran and nobody is doing anything about it? Like, like, is Shiraz is a city in Iran where people could just like have events like this? And they're like, so the outrage got the officials out, and the officials came out and were like, no, like, this is an outrage. You're like,
oh, I have some amazing quotes from the officials.
Okay, go on.
Like, crazy quotes. Well, okay, part of it also is that Shiraz is like, some people say that it's the third holiest city in the country. So like, they're like, in a holy city, can you believe this? So here's I have so many good quotes. Okay, but this is a quote from Iran Wire. But so grievous was this offense that the Chief Justice of Fars province said that the quote-unquote perpetrators, by which he meant the organizers of the informal event, would be, quote, investigated and dealt with, while the governor of Shiraz declared, quote, some of the behaviors exhibited would be unfamiliar to us even in pre-Islamic times.
I mean, technically he's right, because this is, I'm not sure. No, I mean, I don't think this is showing the entire video, because I saw some girls that even had some of their like ribs showing and stuff. Like, they were wearing like short, like, I don't see it here, but I saw in the original video, and I was like, yeah, kind of like a crop top. And I was like, yeah, that would be considered during Shah's time, before the Islamic Revolution. Some of these outfits would be considered like too revealing. So the girls are wearing outfits that would be considered too revealing at Shah's time, before the Islamic Revolution, right?
No, but the way before pre-Islamic times.
Pre-Islam, I mean, I don't know what he means, because some officials talk about before the revolution as pre-Islamic in Iran.
Oh my God. Okay. I thought you meant like before the creation of Islam. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. No one had skateboards, dude. No, okay.
I don't. No. Okay. So, but like, let me just be more clear about how this is happens, because people are like, how is this even allowed in Iran? Okay. The thing is that the rules, like, let me make it. For example, let's say like in the United States, there's certain laws against drug use, right? But in liberal states, for example, it's less enforced. So you could have the same laws across the country, but some parts of a country where there people have live more liberal lifestyles, the officials just look the other way, right? Especially when the girls are at an age where, I mean, that you can tell that they're above 9, but maybe they're not. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you really tell? Like, the officials could be like, well, she's like, people like, she's obviously like 15 years old. She's above 9. She should have a job. I'm like, well, who are we to tell? Like, if like, how could we? Is there like, like, it's not. She's not obviously above 9. There are some 9-year-olds that look like that, right? There's some 8-year-olds that look like that. So you could be like, well, it's questionable if maybe she doesn't have a job because she's under 9, so hijab is not mandatory for her. So I know, so you could get away with that, but religious people will not have that. Religious people are like, what are you talking about? This is insane. If you're not sure whether she's above 9 or not, just ask for a
put a hijab on that bitch.
No, where's the guardian? Like, who are you? Can't just have that. Anyways, so this is how. Okay. But go on. Do you want? I should have shown the video.
I have more statements from officials that we should talk about.
What is this? Is this something you want to? Is this related?
Wait, that's not what I wanted to pull up. There's something different.
That's one of the. Is this one?
Yes. Okay. So this is awesome. Don't play the music. So, because the girls were arrested for wearing hijab, now the boys are protesting by skating in chador. This is awesome. God! This is a boy. So in this video, you see this teenage boy. He's probably like 16 years old. He wraps a chador around himself and proceeds to go around the skate park, do little kick flips. He looks like a Batman, like a mama Batman on a skateboard, and then the chador flowing behind him. So a lot of people were laughing so hard at this. Yeah, the boys wearing chador, yeah, based. So this is a boy protesting the fact that the girls are not allowed in the skate park anymore. It's like, you want hijab? I'll give you hijab. So I'll give you chador.
I give you the full chador.
His little kick flips, like, honestly. I'm going to be honest, though, seeing it flow behind him, like seeing the robes flow behind him does look pretty cool. Like, I never thought about how skating with chador would actually look pretty cool, but that's besides the point. Wait, there's more of these quotes from officials that I want to read. Mohammad Jafar Montazeri, Iran's attorney general, duly claimed without evidence that, quote, teenage girls were abused in the course of the event. He went on, quote, some overseas actors, like the United States, have a mission to incite such things and get money for it. The head of Fars province skating board was fired, and the Friday Imam of Shiraz also weighed in for good measure. Quote, when it is a political security issue, our behavior with regard to arresting children is different from when it is a moral issue. A counter rally was then held in Fars province, with seminary leaders signing a joint statement calling for a citywide campaign to be launched under the suggested title of, quote, no to sin. The statement decried the quote-unquote normalization of a phenomenon they termed social sin, which the clerics said should be dealt with seriously and effectively by law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Then it was the turn of the central government. The regime's enjoining good and forbidding evil headquarters issued its own statement, declared the rally the harbinger of the age of nudity and slavery, and also, confusingly, sexual freedom. It entreated girls to follow the examples of Fatima Zahra and Zainab, respected daughters of the Prophet Muhammad and the first Shia Imam, instead of, quote, awkward Western patterns to become like the depressed, loose Western women. I like the idea that this is ushering in the age of nudity, slavery, and sexual freedom. Like, what is going on here?
But okay, so to make sense of this, you have to understand how much they were being put under pressure. Okay, so the officials, these people's jobs were like, this video went viral. Okay, and people were so outraged that they and the people, they wanted some heads to roll. They're like, who do, like people, a lot of religious people in Iran, they were like, who that, like somebody needs to get fired. Like a lot of people need to be losing their positions over this. This is not an Islamic country if we could allow stuff like this to happen. So people were like trying to compete, like all the officials, just to save themselves. They were trying to out compete with each other to show like no, we're gonna take this very seriously, okay? And people are, the religious people are like, well, if you are going to take this seriously, that means that you had the ability to take this seriously. So why didn't you? Yeah. But there was also some videos I think came about like cop cars showing up, like these places were being guarded. You know, like there was police presence here just to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen. But then I wish I had the video, because people in response showed up in some other places. They're like in Defiance, and they were partying and dancing in Shiraz after this, right? Just to show the officials like, you can't constantly police us everywhere. So they were just like, if I could find the video, like I shouldn't have had it ready. I didn't know I'm gonna cover this today, but like, because they were like, there are some hotspots in Shiraz where people usually gather for events like this, and apparently after this outrage, all the places that police know that these are some popular places for people to gather, they were guarded so that this doesn't happen. But then they just pick somewhere else, and they just release a video of themselves like dancing. You know what? You should highlight some comments. Maybe I could find it. I saw it on the Kucha channel.
Well, what I also wanted to talk about was while you look for it, I've read a really interesting article in Iran Wire about how this is part of a larger crackdown that's happening in Shiraz, which is like historically seen as a very lively, like cultured area of Iran, especially because of the wine industry that historically came out of Shiraz. You know, everyone talks about Shirazi wine. And there's been a lot of other crackdowns. Like there has been a crackdown on biking in the area, partially because of people, it being so impermissible to see a woman biking in public. So that's part of it. There was also I think this actually might pertain to the whole country though. There's been a ban on deviant women's coats. So there's a certain style of women's coats that has now been banned. Like women's coats have to have buttons in the front. Like they have to be able to close. It's like impermissible for them to be open. And men's shorts that are above the knee are also banned now. So there's definitely a wider crackdown that's happening in Iranian society, but then also Shiraz in general, because there was a like crackdowns on like clubs, and people think that this is partially it's a little bit different. The influence of Ibrahim Raisi's the current president of Iran's father-in-law is an extremely powerful cleric, although I believe he's in Mashhad, so that's a little bit different. But a lot of his teachings have been having growing influence, especially when he commanded ordinary citizens to not wait for the police to show up when they see a woman not wearing hijab. He explicitly told people to take it upon themselves to basically harass women when not wearing hijab. So, what's his name? Like Hoda something? Anyways, fuck him. What do we have?
Hey, don't swear. Here, so we have.
I love how the teenagers are all like goth.
Yeah, that's the. Okay, so this is the police. So after this, in reaction, wait, where is that? This is the police presence in areas in response, okay, to make sure that nothing like this happens. So the police look at they showed up in their vans. This is all the official. Oh, also they're like in Shiraz, for example, like they're going to restaurants and they're closing down restaurants where the restaurants are not, the restaurant owners or managers are not properly enforcing hijab rules. So that's what's happening now. So see, they're increasing police presence everywhere in these areas. But also, oh, this was the response. Let me actually add some. Do you want the music? Oh, actually, I don't want to add the music. I don't know if the music might be copyrighted. But see, this was the response. People are dancing. This is. Wait, actually, let me see if this was in Shiraz. Yes, this is Shiraz. But it's in the same city. This is how people responded. They just
Look at that
showed up
little
like,
girl.
yeah. This is a very Persian dance. It's like there's a lot of hand movements like this and this.
It's
like
a lot
this.
of.
I don't
It's
know.
a lot of this.
Look at that guy. Look at that guy at the top.
Yes, yes. He's like, get up, shake, shake.
Oh my God! Don't block him. He's doing such a good. Oh God damn it! Where does he go? Look at them. Oh my God! That's
Ooh.
amazing. Like, what is this dance?
No, you need to add more shoulders to it, more shimmy to the shoulders.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Look at people having fun. This is haram, guys. This is people enjoying their life. Okay, this is people making moments count. This is people creating good memories. Okay, and this is what Islam is against. This is what Islam is trying to stop: is happiness and joy. Okay, and good memories. This is what Islam stands against. Okay. Anyways.
Even though you didn't play the music, I had like my own Persian music going through my head.
Wait, I should have played the music, right? Anyways, because it was probably Persian music. That's not copyrighted. Anyways,
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, this SCOTUS one is the next one, right?
Yes.
Can I clap?
This isn't good, but like, let's clap. Oh, wait a second. Arjun just became a member. Thank you for becoming a member, Arjun.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for supporting Atheist Republic.
Thank you. Speaking of members, Evan Kaim is saying, "Oh no, not free intermingling between the sexes. How dare they?" True.
Rejecting gender discrimination, rejecting gender segregation. How dare they?
Wait, these are funny as well.
This is hilarious comments. Gossip is saying Persian hair. I'm like, oh yes. Music guy just responds, y'all have hair?
10 out of 10 comedy.
Oh.
And also this one.
Oh, Randolph Richardson is saying Armin Navabi was in my Canada Day live stream yesterday. In a video footage, I was showing him from a protest he and I attended in 2017. That's so sweet. Oh. Thank you, Randolph.
That is good. All right, so clap for the next news.
Yeah.
Next
news. Supreme Court of the United States decision deals major blow to religious freedom in public schools. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court sided in favor of a high school coach, Joe Kennedy, in that his firing from the Bremerton School District violated his First Amendment rights. At the crux of the matter was the school district's refusal to let Kennedy pray on the football field immediately after games. The case pitched the religious freedoms of the coach, who holds a level of power over the student players, against the same rights of the students who didn't want to feel pressured in to participate. One aspect of the case that played in Kennedy's favor was that the Supreme Court of the United States found that he didn't directly force any student to join in his prayers. President and CEO of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, Rachel Laser, reacted to the decision, stating, quote, "Today, the court continued its assault on church-state separation by falsely describing coercive prayer as personal and stopping public schools from protecting their students' religious freedom. This decision represents the greatest loss of religious freedom in our country in generations.
Okay, I have a lot of comments on this, but first,
Yes.
Shahin also became a member. Thank you so much,
Thank
Shahin.
you.
First of all, before we express our outrage,
Mhm.
can you explain what was the reason why they thought that this is not a violation of the Constitution and church?
So I'll start from the beginning. So about 6 years ago, Coach Kennedy started praying at the midfield line on the field, like publicly in front of everyone. And the school district, Bremerton, Washington, actually I used to grow up around Bremerton anyways, told him, hey, don't pray in front of your students. We don't want to get sued for violating student religious freedom. And over the course of years, they asked him, hey, please don't do this. Please don't make a spectacle out of this. They even offered him a place where they went above and beyond to try to serve his religious freedoms as well. They said, we can offer you a private place to pray after the games. We're totally fine with that. Just please don't do it like right in front of everyone on our school property right after the game. And Coach Kennedy would encourage other students to join him. He didn't mandate it, he didn't force it, but parents of students said that many felt pressured to participate. Otherwise, they wouldn't seem like they were being part of the team, right? They weren't being a team player if they didn't participate, or they were being left out and excluded if they didn't participate, or they got that feeling. And he would invite media to these instances where he was praying on the field, and it just he refused to listen to the school district and their requests because they expressed that they were trying to protect the religious freedoms of their students and avoid students suing them for his actions, basically. And so it was time for him to get rehired, and they refused to rehire him because they were like, you are not following the what the district has requested of you. So we don't want to work with you again. And he sued, made it up to the Ninth Circuit Appellate Court in San Francisco, and the federal court in San Francisco ruled against him. They appealed, it went before the Supreme Court, and then this time they ruled in his favor. And they're making the excuse that it's because he didn't tell students that they had to join him, that he didn't force it, and that it is quote unquote private prayer. But I included a photo in the show notes. If you look at how he was doing this, there's nothing about this that was private.
That is specifically why I asked you what the argument for it is, because I remember the Supreme Court of United States describing this. They say the reason why they gave him that this is allowed, this, what you're looking at, the Supreme
That looks
Court
like
of
an evangelical revival.
The Supreme Court of United States described this as private prayer, and the reasoning they had for why this is okay. This was a public school, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this man, as his position within a public school paid by American taxpayers, right? As a government employee, okay? As a government employee, he's telling people to, within his position as a government employee, is telling people to pray. And the Supreme Court of the United States is saying that this is allowed because this was a private prayer session. Are they like, I don't understand. Like, are they trolling us? What is this? What does this mean? How is this? This doesn't make any sense. And also, what is he suing for? What is the challenge? They didn't even fire him. There was no firing. What is he complaining about? He just asked for his contract to be renewed, and they didn't renew his contract. You were not fired. They don't have to renew your contract. The one cannot renew your contract for any reason. They were like, I just don't. They could be like, this is not a violation of anything. Even if there was a law in the United States that says that you cannot fire people for reasons like this would not apply to it because he was not fired. They just decided not to continue working with him. It was it was not an employee. This was contract. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what's happening. I think this is just like the Supreme Court is just like going like the new the conservative judges are going mask off at this point. They're like, we could just bring like we're just gonna make this into a Christian country, and we're just have so much power that we're just gonna like go full on dictatorial mode, and just you guys just can't do anything about it. I think that's what's just happening.
Yeah,
I don't
understand.
understand.
Here's some the background of their explanation of why they decided this. Justice Neil Gorsuch, writing for the majority in the ruling, declared, quote, "The Constitution and the best of our traditions counsel mutual respect and tolerance, not censorship and suppression for religious and non-religious views alike." Gorsuch noted that the coach, quote, "prayed during a period when school employees were free to speak with a friend, call for a reservation at a restaurant, check an email, or attend to other personal matters, and while his students were, quote, otherwise occupied. So it would be wrong to treat everything public school teachers say and do as speech subjected to government control," he wrote. "If that were the case, a school could fire a Muslim teacher for wearing a headscarf in the classroom or prohibit a Christian aide from praying quietly over her lunch in the cafeteria," he wrote.
Okay, they know this is not comparable because the actual comparison they're avoiding, oh, so close, but not quite. So very close, but I think they're not taking the next step because they know the actual comparison would be the same thing here, but an Islamic prayer. Okay? The actual comparison would not be like somebody like just doing a private prayer in school before they eat by themselves without suggesting to other students, hey, like join me if you want. Oh, Jimmy, you want to join me in prayer? Like that would be comparable, okay? Not like, oh, I'm just going to do my own prayers quietly before I eat, okay? That's not comparable, okay? If you want to actually have a real comparison to this Islamically, then tell me if you would be okay with a Muslim teacher telling everybody like, hey, let's come and thank Allah for the just wonderful game that we had. Hey, Jimmy, you're going to join? Are you going to pray to Allah? No? Okay, Jimmy's not going to join. Hey, with you, well, Tom, pray to Allah? Like, would you agree? Would parents and all other people who are supporting this would be okay with this? Hey, Islamically, maybe you're okay with that. What about Satan? Satan's mother. Okay, I can't swear on this show. Okay, let's bring Satan to this. Let's have a prayer to Satan. Where is the satanic temple? Because the same people would all of a sudden understand the entire point of secularism if you say that, hey, we're going to pray to Satan for this wonderful game that we had, but no pressure to anybody. And we're just noticing the people who are joining the prayer session and the people who are not. The teacher is noticing it. The people, are you with the team or are you not with? People don't understand how much being part of the team and going with the flow is important when, especially in school. Okay,
Especially
this is like, yeah, especially to teenagers, like fitting in or not fitting in. It's the psychological implications of that. Like people are like, oh, you could just not join in. Have you never been a goddamn teenager? Do you know like the pain of not fitting in is more than physical torture? People do not commit suicide over physical torture, but people do commit suicide over being ostracized or people not fitting in with the community or feeling alone, okay? This is the amount of psychological trauma that you're putting teenagers under by making them like, oh, everybody joined in the prayer session except Timmy. Timmy had an issue. Timmy doesn't love Jesus. Timmy has a problem with Jesus. We love Jesus. Timmy doesn't. Do you understand how much of a brainwashing, what the door you're opening to if this is basically this is all the excuses you need to use publicly funded school system as a way to brainwash children and bring them back to Christianity. This is what I was telling you in the earlier news, right? These people are losing the demographic battle, but they're winning the political battle. And if they win the political battle and they use it to dominate the school system, eventually they could use it to win back the demographic battle. You can't lose this game, guys. All the progress you think you have made, you could lose it. Progress is not certain. You could lose everything we've gained in secularism, in rights, in freedoms, in the separation of church and state. All of this can be gone. People think that once you gain some rights, you're just going to stay there. Right? When you gain the rights, now it's your job to defend them and guard them. You could lose all of it if you're not careful. And again, the secularists and the atheists, these people are not as motivated as these Christians and the religious people are. You're not as mobilized. You're not as united. You guys are in the level of infighting. You guys are talking about canceling each other over like the most insanely, like this is what you get over like, oh, like you had this joke 5 years ago over here, so you're not part of us anymore. This is what you get from all this infighting. All the woke culture means that the rights that actually matter, you're gonna lose all of it when you're united. You think the conservatives and the right wingers and the Christians, you think they don't forgive each other for little things? But they have their eye on the big picture. They know what
they've been pushing to bring prayer back into public schools for decades.
They know what actually matters, and that's why they don't cancel each other over every small little disagreement. Okay, this is why it's important to focus on the most important rights that you want and stay united as liberals. Okay, anyways.
Yeah, no, this is completely outrageous. So one thing that I can say is that I would encourage people to go support organizations like the Freedom from Religion Foundation, as well as Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. Both are amazing organizations that put a lot of their emphasis into literally writing briefings that go before the Supreme Court. Like FFRF wrote a briefing to the Supreme Court in this case. Americans United for the Separation of Church and State have said that they are preparing, here's a quote. Laser promised that Americans United will continue to defend and protect religious freedoms, which is, wait, no, that's not what I wanted to read. Okay, basically, they've said that they're like preparing already. They're preparing what they can do legally to push back against things like this. So if you want to see people push back against decisions like this and fight to, keep prayer out of schools, maintain the religious freedom of students, go support organizations and the work like that they do over there. Darko is saying it'll probably take generations to fix this mess. Yeah, it's horrific. It's so depressing. Oh, actually, that reminds me, Armin, I have a video by Andrew Seidel about this decision that I wanted to show.
Okay. I just want to address this. Mohammad is saying unite behind secularism, not atheism. I completely agree with this. When I say atheist activists, I'm talking about people who are motivated to fight for secular activism. Okay, so atheist activists should be you. So when it comes to issues like this, atheist activists can join other secular activists, okay, and not use the fact that these other secular activists are not atheists. They shouldn't use that as an excuse not to unite with them. Okay, I'm just calling upon atheist activists because I know atheist activists are also, most of them are also secular activists. Okay, you can still do your atheist activism. You shouldn't avoid doing your atheist activism. Okay, do your atheist activism, but on these issues, unite with other secular activism, even if they don't agree with you on your atheism. I agree with that. So, anyway, so let me what the video? Let me split the video.
Yeah.
So sorry, my dog is crying because she needs petting. My Kelly dog. So I'm trying to also give her some attention.
Wait, no, you're going to need to refresh the page and then unmute because it's Instagram and you can't start from the beginning.
I know, it's so stupid. So
That's so
let me
annoying.
refresh the page now. Oh my god.
And unmute.
Ooh.
Oh,
This
There we go.
rogue U.S. Supreme Court just did it again. It continued its assault on the separation of church and state and on our rights in yet another opinion. This time in Kennedy versus Bremerton School District. The court falsely described this coach's coercive prayer as private, and it prevented the school district from protecting the religious freedom of its students. Does that look like a private prayer to you? This decision is one of the greatest losses for true religious freedom in our lifetime, in a generation. This court is ignoring religious freedom unless it is the religious freedom of conservative Christians. That's what we saw last week in the main case. That's what we saw today. Nobody else's religious freedom matters unless you happen to be a conservative Christian. That is weaponizing religious freedom. And it is a result of a crusade that's been going on for years, backed by $1 billion shadow network, and it is what we are trying to fight against. One of the through lines through all the awful opinions being imposed on this country by this rogue court is religious freedom, the weaponization of religious freedom, and the erosion of the separation of church and state, that founding American principle, that central tenet of our democracy. What we need right now is a national recommitment to the separation of church and state. This rogue U.S. Supreme Court judge.
That was it, right?
yep.
I wanted to
Said it
make sure
perfectly.
because yeah.
Oh, for those who don't know, Andrew Seidel, who we just listened to, is a constitutional attorney and the vice president of strategic communications for Americans United for the separation of church and state. So he's one of the top secular activist lawyers who I go to listen to break down these kinds of decisions. So definitely go check out his books, his work, his YouTube channel, his Twitter. He's very good at explaining these things and emphasizing their importance. Sheikh B is saying this is depressing. F it, and worst part is US has an impact all over the world. Yes, this is what we need to think about. You know, people say that when America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Like it or not, we set the tone for a lot of stuff that happens globally, and that's something I consider when big stories like this happens. Basically, the only thing we can do to try to fix the situation is we have to expand the judiciary. If you feel powerless, we need to put our political organizing into expanding the judiciary, so that we can get this Catholic ultra-conservative majority diminish their power. So that is its own massive political struggle, and we need politicians who are going to fight for that hard.
And just to confirm that, just by for example, one country, if you want to use it as an example, I really agree with this comment here because you can see because countries like United States are used as an example of the highest level of achievement, when it comes to secularism or free speech or stuff like that. I know sometimes unjustifiably, right? With free speech, justifiably, but with secularism, maybe unjustifiably. But people are like, this is the best. Okay, this is what we can achieve. And when the best is this, people can excuse their violation of secularism by saying even in United States, and then they finish their sentence, right? So they're like, that's the ideal, that's the highest. So if they fall short of that, they're like, it's okay because that's, we're falling maybe just a little bit short of it. Even the extreme version, which is United States, they're allowing stuff like this. And the example I was going to use is in Iran, a lot of people, when they're defending certain rules, they're like, well, look, even in this country they allow this. Even for example, even France, for example, they said so for free speech they don't go with the United States because they know the United States has really good free speech, right? But when it comes to something that offends people and then they get arresting for it, they're like, oh, look, even in France people could get arrested for burning the flag, right? So but when it comes to secularism, they're like, oh, look, even in United States they don't allow this and this and this based on religious grounds. So religion should be in politics. So but I'm saying that this is not a loss for the United States. This is a loss for the entire planet, right? When the best countries that the countries that are supposed to be ahead of everybody else, when they lose, everything else in the world goes one step backward, a huge leap backward. But anyways, do you think the Satanic Temple could get involved in all of this? Because I want to see Christians.
Well, I will already presume that they've been looking at a way to get involved with this left, right, and center ever since they heard that the court is going to take up this case. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I hope. I'm looking forward to a decade of satanic prayers. Like I'm looking forward to there's going to be a major satanic panic. I'm hoping, because I want Christians to see like the fruits of their labor coming back at them, and then be like, oopsies. Yeah.
But that would mandate that there has to be teachers who are willing to start praying to Satan in public at their school property. Like, I don't know how many individuals are willing to do that for the sake of ultimately picking up a court case that they can take upwards,
Well, what I know is that as much as we have teenagers, okay, there are many teenagers who need to fit in, okay, but there's another group of teenagers that their entire identity is defined based on rebellion, okay? So I'm hoping that they do not disappoint and they continue to define their identity by we're going to get a generation of rebels defined because of these violations of fundamental rights, okay? So this what we're seeing right now in front of our eyes is the birth of very aggressive and passionate future atheist activists, okay? Because atheist activism dies when religion is not that big of an issue. But I'm just thinking like there are a lot of atheist activists coming from the United States that haven't even been born yet. Like we're creating environments where atheist activists come out of it. So I don't know where Atheist Republic is going to be at that point, but I imagine like me and Susanna will be like really old and we both have like really dark gray hair, and we know what we're going to talk. Like a whole bunch of like young atheist activists are coming up, and like we called it, like we knew that this environment that is being created is going to create people like you. And when we were talking about it, you weren't even born yet, right? So we're going to have them they're going to be channel members, and they're going to be coming up, and we're going to talk to them. This might be yeah, good time to be a rebel. All right. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, we can. Next news. Islamic leader banned by the United Kingdom Department of Education for homophobia and misogyny. Recently, the United Kingdom's Department of Education decided to prohibit a Salafi activist known as Abu Khadija from spreading his hateful rhetoric via officiating school teachings. Abu Khadija, real name Wahid Alam, once managed school instructions at the Islamic Redstone Academy in Birmingham, UK. Alam produced several sermons and writings between 2015 and 2019 that showed his aversion to the LGBT population and distaste for women's rights. For example, he is known for preaching that women who have adopted the ways of Western society are worse, quote, even than the beasts. As publicly declared by the Department of Education, Alam was banned from officiating school teachings or engaging in conduct, quote, aimed at undermining the fundamental value of individual liberty. A 2019 Ofsted inspection revealed that Redstone Educational Academy, quote, has a history of failing to meet standards since 2014. Megan Manson, head of campaigns at the National Secular Society, stated, quote, it's not hard to see why this school has a substantial history of failure, particularly regarding discrimination against female pupils. Ofsted must continue to take action and protect the rights and welfare of children at the school. If the school cannot prioritize pupils' educational needs above the archaic and fundamentalist religious dogma, it must be closed down.
Somehow I suspect that if this man was a Christian leader that was homophobic and misogynist, these actions would have been happening a lot earlier. What do you think?
Oh. Honestly, I can't say. I can't speak to any level of bias for or against this guy because he's a Salafi. Yeah, so there is so much to get into here. So basically, like he was in charge or worked in like a leading capacity in an independent school in Birmingham, UK. And independent schools have to meet certain governmental standards, right? Because government says we have to, you have to meet these standards to and be entrusted with the education of children. Yeah, so he's been banned from teaching or engaging in conduct at these schools because of everything that he's been preaching. There's one thing. His works, as the Department of Education describes, quote, fail to show tolerance of and respect for the rights of others. The publishings included his views that seeking to restrict the activities of women and denigrate and demonize gay men. Alam's views came to light during a 2019 Ofsted inspection. Redstone Educational Academy wanted separate boys and girls schools and attempted to register them. But in a judgment in 2017, denounced this practice as lawless discrimination. Alam, as chair of directors at Redstone Educational Services Limited, Limited or LTD, I think that stands for Limited, which owns and runs the academy, ignored that judgment. The inspection cited the proposed girls' school as, quote unquote, unlikely to meet the standards of educational schools, as the proprietor, quote, publicly extols views that should not be promoted by the owner of an independent school in England. These views were, quote, offensive, inappropriate, and contrary to the Equality Act of 2010, the Independence School Standards, and Department of Education statutory guidance, according to the department. Quote, it is therefore the view of the Secretary of State that Alam would be unable to comply with the safeguarding responsibilities and relevant legislation and guidance if he is to hold a school leadership role. So Alam's teachings or his comments that Muslim scholars, quote, state that homosexuality comes due to a corruption of the natural state, which can be triggered by various events, including school indoctrination of children from an early age that goes against nature, health, and well-being. In 2019, Alam advised women that they must have permission from their husbands and fathers before leaving the house. So, okay, here's the thing. If the 2020 inspection found that boys at the school were treated favorably and have more privileges at the school than girls, and they've had consistent failings since 2014, I don't understand how they're even allowed to actually operate still. It's almost a decade of failures to pass inspections. What?
But how did they manage to go on for this long? I don't understand. Like,
that's what confuses me.
So the message is that you get away with this for a decade?
Almost a decade, yeah. Is when they started.
Even if we have reports that you're doing this, we're like, we'll get to it, I guess, at some point. I don't understand. Like they had the information that this was happening, and it took this time. I don't understand.
Yeah, it actually confuses me a lot.
Okay, so read some of these comments.
Forever Stormy and saying, why is this guy free? He will have to find some other way to spread his hate. Well, I mean he's allowed. Why is he free? He's allowed to preach. They're just saying he shouldn't have a role in the education of children.
I mean, you can't arrest, but I mean, it's the UK. I don't know what you get arrested for, but you should be able to be free. Like, why would they be in jail for expressing their opinions? Like, Forever Stormy, are you suggesting that people should be arrested for homophobia? I think that would be extreme. But what about this one?
Forever Stormy is saying there shouldn't be any independent religious schools. That's it. I don't know enough about the construction of the independent school system in the UK to be able to I don't know, describe why they do what they do over there. So,
yeah, but I agree. I don't think that you should allow religious schools. I think it should be illegal for you to be able to brainwash children with religion, any religion.
or they might say that this is an infringement upon their religious freedoms, though. Like, do you think this could be construed as an infringement upon his religious freedoms?
I mean, in the same way that, I don't know, like beheading apostates might be infringing upon your religious freedom, like banning of, like, yeah, I mean, some religions, some religious acts should be banned. Religious freedom doesn't mean like everything that is in religion is free. It means like the thing that you could practice your religion as long as you don't violate other laws, violate other people's rights. And I think children's rights are being violated if you brainwash them. So, for example, it's not your religious freedom. It's not part of religious freedom for you to say, like, I don't want my kid to learn mathematics, right? You cannot say that. They're like, okay, we don't care that this is your religion. It's part of law that your kid has to learn math, okay? So by the same argument, you could say, like, well, we could have laws that says that you cannot brainwash children with religion. That shouldn't be allowed. But we want, and if it's whose rights is being violated, the child, because the child does not have enough, cannot give informed consent over what kind of material is gullible mind can be exposed to. This is like poison. You should let the child. We know based on studies that kids need to learn mathematics, need to know how to read and write, need to know these information. Religion is not something that you should be able to force upon a kid until it's an adult. I think that should be fair. I should be like, no schools that teaches religion. I think is that extreme? Am I being a fascist? I don't want to be a fascist. Let me know if that's fascism.
I really like this language that they were saying that he was banned for teaching or engaging in conduct that was aimed at undermining the fundamental value of individual liberty. I don't know. I feel like that's just like a really crystallized and clear way of putting it. Like, yes, this is at the heart of the matter. Like, we need to inculcate children with a respect for the fundamental value of individual liberty. These are the values that our country has and imbues and stands for and defends.
Read this comment. That's insane. Mohammad is saying something.
Have you seen the video where Richard Dawkins visited one of these schools? They're actually arguing against evolution. Oh my gosh, yeah. Have you seen this video, Armin? Like, no, but that's like famous.
That should be illegal. That's illegal. You can't do that. Is that school just survived? Like, how is that not?
I have no idea what the status of that random school was.
You cannot.
It was embarrassing.
This is a violation of the children's rights. You're poisoning their mind. Also, parents don't own the children. Like, people are like, oh, it's my kids. No, it's not. Okay, just because it came out of your body doesn't mean you own the thing. You can't own human beings. Okay, you cannot be like, I decide for my children. You don't. You suck as a parent. Okay, you don't get to, just because these are citizens of a country that they cannot. They're the least, the weakest citizens of a country, right? And they're being betrayed in an environment where they're supposed to be kept safe by people who are supposed to be taking care of them, and you're failing at it. And the government needs to get involved. Like, these kids need to be exposed to proper information and proper skills and proper mindset to be able to be functioning members of society. And if you fail that as a parent, you cannot be like, oh, it's my property. It's not your property. It's no one's property. You don't have the right to decide to ruin your own child's future. Anyways.
I agree.
Okay. So Qasim is calling me a fascist in the live chat. I do not appreciate that. Fascists don't usually say, am I being a fascist? I don't want to be a fascist. Okay, so that's my sign for not being a fascist. Okay. Anyways. That's my own.
If you say that 3 times, it doesn't count. You just wipe away everything else.
Oh my God. Okay, so I am having a hard time focusing on the news, okay? because as soon as I stop petting my dog, Kelly, she starts like getting annoyed. She's like, why did you look? She's so annoyed. She's like, why have you stopped? What have I done? Why do you not pet me, man? Such a attention. Oh my God. I cannot stop petting her. Like if I stop petting her, she's like refuses to accept and this
Well, it's because you
non-petting.
give in. This is positive reinforcement. So you're reinforcing.
Like
to
she
her.
gives me puppy eyes. She's not a puppy anymore.
Exactly.
But she gives me the puppy eyes. And I fail and I cannot refuse her petting.
You're
Oh my
weak.
God.
You're weak. You lack discipline.
Oh my God. I wish I could show her to you because she's too big for me to just. Maybe I can try. Here, come here.
Yeah,
Look at
people
it.
saying
She's so
she is
big.
training you. She's so big now.
Wait.
Oh. Yeah, honestly, if you're listening to this show and not watching us on YouTube, like you are missing out on a lot of cute dogs. Everyone is saying the dog has trained Armin.
Okay, you go. Oh, she's back. She's like, you think it was done? You think I'm done? I'm not done. Oh my God. God damn it. Okay. Can we clap?
Well, we don't like this, but let's clap because it's Atheist Republic news.
Okay. Oh my God, but they're both here now. Next news.
They're coming at me from all sides. All these dogs. Okay. Next news. Banned for Sikh blasphemy. Indian government orders hosting service to block blasphemousart.com. So, guys, if you are familiar with us, you would be familiar with our Blasphemous Art Project. And we host our Blasphemous Art Project on blasphemoussart.com. And last Sunday, I was going to our website to go upload a new art. And when I was going to go do this, I got this message, the site can't be reached. I was like, what's going on? So we investigated, and our hosting service for our domain name told us that we were banned for abusive behavior, and that an order from the government of India was involved. People were saying achievement unlocked. So this is outrageous and ridiculous on multiple levels. Wait, I wrote this all out. Let me find what I wrote. Armin, do you have any immediate reactions to this?
I was told that the Sikhs are the most tolerant ones. I was told wrongly, but this is the Indian government coming at us at our website. So they're coming after everything, right? They came after our Twitter. So even your website. Remember, we told you guys that even your websites are not safe. The URL has been banned. This is why you need to get on our newsletter. Newsletters are the only safe spaces that we will have contact with you forever, and nobody could take this from us. You know why? Because it's stored on our drives. Like nobody can take that away. So you need to subscribe to our newsletter. But God damn it, these people are sensitive. Like they have. How long has it been? They have still not given up on us.
Almost
They're
a
still
week.
coming at us. Yeah, they're legal.
Oh no, since the beginning of the blasphemy scandal, 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years, they're like the people are like, oh guys, let it go. They're not giving up. Okay, like imagine the power that they have, because guys, the Muslims who get offended of us, they don't have these powers. Okay, there's nothing they can't. They just could. They only. I mean, they have. That's why they have more violence on their side, because they don't have access to mega corporations, right? Like India. So the power that Hindus have when they get offended is that they have a country with the world's largest political party to go out and legally challenge Facebook, Twitter, and now a hosting website, right? They legally challenged this company that was giving us this URL to ban us. And they submitted. They were like, this is illegal according to them. And we're like, what's illegal? And they Again, this is an American company. This is an American company.
Actually, that's not true.
Or what is it?
They have an office in America. They're based in Lithuania.
Okay. Western company telling us that our website has been banned, specifically them saying us, not us, because we offended Sikh sensibilities. We offended Sikhism. We went after Sikhism. So this means that you could lose your websites if you upset Sikhs. If you say something against Sikhism, you could lose your website. Like, not your Facebook account, not your Twitter account, not your YouTube, your website itself. The website that's supposed to be your home. Like, I don't know if people understand. Content creators are told that if you don't have a good website, you're living on rented space, because you could lose your Facebook, you could lose your Twitter, you could lose your YouTube. But if you have a website, you're safe. Work on your websites, because that's your own. Wrong. Your website is not safe either, based on the crime on speaking against Sikhism and having art against Sikhism. That could get you lose your website. That's insane. This is supposed to be some of the safest place, like online environment. Your website is supposed to be unlosable, and we knew that that's not true. We knew that they could come even for that, but to lose it over this, over Sikhs, over Sikhism. By the way, what's the art? We should show the art. Should we show the art? Yeah, okay, or we could lose our YouTube account. Okay, guys, you can
find the art on our Patreon. So wait, actually, let's back up. So let's break down exactly what they told us. So part of the response, that the most important part of the response that we received from the hosting service was, quote, "After I checked from my end, I see that your domain, blasphemousart.com, is suspended due to an abuse report. The report states that you display content which is affecting the religious feelings of the Sikhs community, and the same is offendable under relevant sections of the law in India, which violates our terms and service. Do keep in mind that the decision of unsuspension remains unchanged in this case. We are rooting for a safe internet. So as we received a report from higher authorities, we can't unsuspend your domain." So you're telling me that you received an order from Indian authorities regarding our blasphemy against the Sikh sacrilege. So this is in reference to an artwork we did, I think was called Sikh Foot Worship. You can find this on our Patreon. And it is of a Sikh woman sexily rubbing her feet on the Guru Granth Sahib, while there is like a guy standing above the book. And we have only had one art. We have only had one Sikh related art, and this is what they come after. And then so I was writing about why this made me so mad, so I want to read what I wrote. So according to this message, they received a complaint from the Indian government regarding this content, and instead of blocking this domain solely in the Indian market, as has happened to us many times by now, they globally banned us. This is outrageous on many levels. One, we are not Indian citizens, nor within the country, and therefore not subject to Indian jurisdiction. Two, this company, based on my research, does not have any offices in India, and therefore is not subject to Indian jurisdiction. Again, I'm not aware, that's my understanding. Three, they took this action against us without any prior notification or attempt to have us voluntarily remove the content that resulted in a total global ban. And four, they are literally enforcing blasphemy laws beyond India's borders.
Okay, first of all, okay, I'm going to make sure that we resend this specific art to our newsletter subscribers. Okay, we send art to our newsletter subscribers every week, so you have to be on our newsletter to get our art. Okay, and that you will always get our art. So make sure you're there. Okay, but this specific art will be resent to our newsletter subscribers. So make sure you get on our newsletter right now if you want to see
link in the description.
Link in the description. Also, another thing is that I want Hindutva support over this against India's decision. You know why? Because we did this for you. We did this for Hindutva because we were told that by Hindutva that we are cowards because we go after what's easy, which is Hinduism, but we would never dare go after Sikhism. We were challenged by Hindutva to go after Sikhism, okay? And when we eventually made our Sikhism art, there were some Hindutva that were like, respect. We didn't expect you to do this. We didn't think you would go there. But apparently you go after every religion. It's true. Like, we thought that you have a vendetta over Hinduism and you guys are pretending to be against every religion. There were some Hindutva that were convinced, like, okay, you guys are not Hindu phobes. You guys are just anti-religion as a whole, and you have proven yourself. Bravo, carry on. We'll support you. Okay? So we did this for you, the people who asked for that. So you need to now come out and be like, this is insane. This is crazy. It's just the art. It's just an art. I can't believe that people could just lose their entire websites over just art. Okay? By the way, I highlighted a whole bunch of Hindutva people who are supporting us in the live chat. So do you want to highlight that? And I start them.
Okay, I just put the link to subscribe to our newsletter twice in the description in the live chat. So I expect all of you guys to go sign up to our newsletter because, like Armin said, this is the only place where we can be sure to contact you. No one can take you from us if you're on our newsletter. And you can also find it at atheistrepublic.com/newsletter. Satya is saying, damn, I don't like what you do, but I support your rights. I'm Hindutva, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Vishas is saying, I want the blasphemy law revoked too. I'm a BGP supporter. And Satya is coming out full force. I want more blasphemy. I'm Hindutva. It reminds me of like that Twitter meme. It's like, I want more blasphemy and I'm Hindutva. Yes, we exist. I'm valid. It's giving me that energy. Acknowledge us. We're valid. Oh my God. So yeah, this was absolutely outrageous. And please join our newsletter. It's also difficult for us because we have put in a lot of effort into building this website. We've had it for almost 2 years. A lot of the marketing of how we promote our Blasphemous art project is intricately tied to this website. It like so much, hundreds of hours of work has gone into it. Promoting it, and it's, you know, also how we get support on Patreon. And so this is substitutes, you know, a hit to the revenue that we can generate to support the programming that we do. And that's something that we're definitely concerned about as an organization. So if you guys want to support us, please consider supporting us on Patreon, or you can donate via PayPal. And there's lots of other options that you can check out in the description below. It means a lot to our organization, especially because one of our major ways of, you know, fundraising is through this. Do you have anything you want to add in regard to that, Armin?
I just want to read some other starred comments. So do you want to read them?
Forever Stormy is saying, did Sikhs actually complain, or is the government using them as a fig leaf? We don't know. The company is just telling us that they received a report from higher authorities to do with this community because it violates their laws. That's all.
I mean, if the Sikhs didn't why we have so much Hinduism related art, why are they focusing on the Sikh one? Right? If this is coming from India, we have only one Sikh art. We have countless number of Hindu arts, and the legal way they went after the websites is the one Sikh art. How? Why?
This website was already blocked in India under Section 69A of the IT Act.
Yeah, you didn't have access to it in India, so why are you blocking it? How is India like has influence outside of its borders, where it's deciding like, we're not getting this website, but we want other people outside of India. Like India's government is making it are able to block content to other people outside of India. And they cannot say like, oh, well, people in India were also seeing it as well. No, you already had won that battle. I don't understand. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so Nanda is saying this is Hindus have no power, but Sikhs have power to influence. Well, Hindus have a lot of power, but I agree Sikhs have.
Yeah, because we've primarily been battling them for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
That's been the main source of our problem for the past 2 years.
Okay, I know, but like, to be fair to Nanda, it's true that it seems like offending Sikhs is like a bigger no-no, a way bigger no-no in India than any other groups. Okay, you could offend, Hindus or Muslims, but that's such a red line. All of these are red lines, but that's the ultimate red line.
Most people are way too scared.
Yeah.
But we had no chill.
What? Yeah, we just went. Yeah, that's why when we went after it, a lot of people were in India were like, we didn't expect you going there. Actually, we're so surprised of how the fact like for us, this is not a red line at all. We were like enjoying the fact that to see that so many people being surprised, because in India it's such a taboo, and for us it's not a taboo. So for us it was so easy to cross that line, and it was just so amusing to see for so many people from India just watching us like, I can't believe you went there, right? So.
They done did it now, boys.
Okay, well, some people are saying Hindutva supports Armin. Well, I appreciate the support. All right,
most of them.
Well, some of them do. We appreciate it. ABC, how to support you on Twitter? How support?
We've been banned everywhere from Twitter. I've been banned from Twitter. Armin has been banned from Twitter. Atheist Republic, the largest atheist account on the platform, was banned on Twitter for reasons that they still haven't told us. Find us. You can support us on Twitter by finding us someone at Twitter who we can talk to get our account back. How about that?
Yes. Tweet at people, or just follow us on Secular Jihadists. How about that? Follow Secular Jihadists account. Imagine banning art, though. I mean, that's what religions do, right? It's religion. All right. This was fun.
Yes.
And again, guys, grow our newsletter. That's how we're supposed to grow. Okay, that's the safest place to be. So make sure you support us by. Yeah, this is what you could do. You could on Twitter, you could tell people that Atheist Republic has been removed from Twitter and post a link to our newsletter on Twitter and tell people to get on our newsletter. Tell them to do that. That's how you can support us on Twitter. Yeah.
Yes, you can find the link in our description, which I post in the live chat, or you can go to atheistrepublic.com/newsletter. And that way we can always find you. And if we get banned from everywhere, we will always tell you where to find us next. And you should also subscribe, because if you're like, what is this art that they got banned for? Like, how bad could it be? Well, we're about to resend it to you guys, so you will find out. We send the safer work version and then, tell you how to get the real juicy blasphemy.
There's a clothed version and there's a nude version. Okay, so on the newsletter we send you. By the way, don't worry, the clothed version is still very sexy. It's just not 18 plus. But there's also an 18 plus version of all of this. Yeah. We got somebody saying, "Hey, y'all from Nigeria. Hi, back to Nigeria." Yeah, stay tuned to Atheist Republic. We're going to cover Nigeria a lot. Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. So on that note, that brings us to the end of today's show. There was a lot we covered today. If you stayed this long and you didn't subscribe, I don't understand, because we go this hard and we talk about stuff like this every week. So stay tuned. Join us again next week. Please please share. If you're like, man, these people, they don't cover it like other people do. Share it. Tell your friends. And thank you to the Atheist Republic community for supporting us so much.
Yeah, thank you. Forever Stormy saying, bye, guys. Nice episode. Thank you. I always like to hear it. Okay, guys. Talk to you soon in a few days. 4 days, I think, right? So, don't forget, we're gonna post Ask Us Anything for our patrons on the Patreon account. So if you're a patron, make sure you get your questions in. If you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. Our next stream is going to be a Q&A where we will be answering patron questions. And also after we answer patron questions, the YouTube members get to come and talk to us live on air. So if you want, you could become a YouTube member and come talk to me and ask your questions. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
I had fun today.
Me too. Thank you for everything, Susie. That was really good. You did so much good work.